Got a lot of the shit like this, nigga. And I ain't even said it or wrote it yet. I just feel it, you know? Yeah. Overtime, cause I ain't have a mic. I was in that Chevy. Yeah. Overtime, ain't have a mic. I was in that Chevy playing Savage Life. Niggas looking like I had it raw. Now the niggas know I had it right. They don't know I'm about to sleep this night. I'm looking for a reason nice. They said 6 degrees of life. Opportunity, preparation, they mean it's nice. You see me up in demons, right? My chain and my pinky bright. I'm valeting Mercedes Benz. Looking like somebody that people like. Can't but help to think how fake it is. This world and this music biz. I just want all of this paper up. So maybe I can try and change the shit. Maybe me, I'm too ambitious. Or maybe this a new dimension. Maybe them they too religious. Maybe they judge my intentions. But either way, I'm on my mission. In the sky, or I love, I'm a tired ribbon. Life's a bitch, lady, love my women. Forever you my lady, I'm your fucking nigga. Overtime, ain't have a mic. I was in that Chevy playing Savage Life. Niggas looking like I had it raw. Now them niggas know I had it right. They don't know I'm about to sleep this night. I'm looking for a reason nice. They said 6 degrees of life. Opportunity, preparation, they mean it's nice. Capping for a cheaper price. Hustling for a buck to keep your sneakers tight. Shoot a box, catch the cheapest flight. If it land, thank you, Jesus Christ. You ain't gon' get it till you see it right. You jump off in this legal life. Feel the pressure from your people, right? Still choose to lead it right. Time I rap about my feature price. For all of my defeats in life. They told me don't believe the hype. But I felt like this about myself before the mic.
You know, if you look at like the movie industry, you know basically that's off how many tickets sold. You know, like what's the gross? How much it gross? Period. Right? When it comes to business, the bottom line is, you know, we in business to make money. How much it gross? And so it's like I feel like it's a looming question mark over Hollywood, over the entertainment music industry. What's the new business model? And to me, you know, the people that lead to that answer, and then they
my AC on my ceiling crack, smoking killer. Like my bank account 100 racks, smoking killer. I pull up in that black on black, smoking killer. My AC on my ceiling crack, smoking killer. I wake up in this state of mind, like sky's the limit. My nigga strapped you across the line. I'm gon' kill you. I'm focused on $1 million cash. That's the vision. Speeding and I'm finna crash. That's the feeling. Until my tires burn out and my wheels give out. These backwoods burn slow, like my bills to show. When them people come fuck you, they gon' steal your house. Put your name on their papers, they gon' fill you out. Couple moves from your corner, come fuck up your count. How you think and bounce back when you out? Look, I'm tiptoeing over traps. Tight roping at a height you fall, you knowin' this a rap. But I'ma keep this balance, cause it ain't no turning back. Ain't no looking down, my niggas ain't concerned with that. More concerned with cash, more concerned with running laps. Running rap, get rich to running back. My AC on my ceiling crack, smoking killer. Like my bank account 100 racks, smoking killer. I pull up in that black on black, smoking killer. My AC on my ceiling crack, smoking killer. Yeah. What's the deal, nigga? How you feel now you know this shit is real, nigga? Once upon a time was in the field, nigga. Wartime, really kill, nigga. Gunfire, shooting out civilians, nigga. Young, wild, police gon' deal with you. Not too many still living. So I gotta paint it real vivid. I'm surprised that I'm here, nigga. No, I'm blind to my fears, nigga. I shine like the beers, nigga. And fly like a leer, nigga. Climb like the stairs, nigga. Spend time out in Paris, nigga. Come from where the grannies gotta bury niggas. And money make these hoes want to marry on my silly crack. Smoke killing. Like my bank account 100 racks. Smoke killing. I pull up in that black on black. Smoke killing. My AC on my silly crack. Smoke killing. I think about them late nights. Drive to Vegas, cross the state lines. Finally did it, it just take time. Since I was high. My only goal was get this cake right. And what they say, right? For your own is what you make like. She was out there every day, right? Trying to push forward, trying to eat steak, right? Put some hundreds in your safe, right? Hang some flat screens in your place, right? Life insurance just in case, right? Gave something to the Lord just in case, right? Sit solo first class on a straight flight. I remember waiting on my daylight. Every day I'm on this paper chase light. Step between these buildings till the daylight. Wiggle through the prisons and the grave sites. Then you finally get it. My AC on my silly crack. Smoking killer. Like my back account 100 racks. Smoking killer. I pull up in that black on black. Smoking killer. My AC on my silly crack. Smoking killer.
What's up, family? Good morning, top of the top. Just want to start off today by letting y'all know that I got my foot to the gas these next few weeks through the end of the year. Right now, I'm making a transition with my career, and I have a little hiatus at the moment. Therefore, I've been running crazy laps on this live, trying to run this shit up. But today, what we got going on is I was reading through the Gateway Experience. Now, if you're not familiar with what this is a CIA document that was it was written back in 1983 or submitted in 1983. However, it wasn't declassified until 2003. Now, basically, this once declassified government document is kind of like level 10 MK Ultra, dealing with things like the metaverse, dealing with just the whole idea of determining your own fate. And basically, it is in the report itself. They phrase it very carefully, but what they concluded more or less was that the things that we're taught in the classroom, specifically things like religion and science not being reconcilable, those things aren't necessarily entirely true. Now, the reason why I'm pulling up this document on today, specifically today, and decided to go through it today is because I was looking through it, and in subsection 18, there is a section about holograms. And I want you all to understand that this was back, this document was that the findings were reported back in 1983. So now if you really do the math and you think about it, it had to have been at least 5 years prior to that, in my educated opinion, for them to have conducted whatever they had to conduct in order to report those kind of findings. Having that kind of knowledge, then it makes one able to reasonably wonder, how was there such knowledge back then of certain concepts that they told us were impossible, or told us weren't, within the realm of possibilities, et cetera, and so forth. So with all that being said, Since I just gave the little intro on what this is, we're gonna go through the document right now, and specifically, we're gonna cruise through it. But when we get to subsection 18, we're gonna have to really lock in because this is discussing holograms, and this is this discussion today is going to be somewhat of an extension of the discussion we had the other day with regards to Nipsey Hussle at the Final Four game, or the Elite 8 game rather, on March 30th, 2019. If he was in fact there, and if he wasn't there, the potential CGI and hologram type technology that might have aided in providing the illusion. Now, let's go over here. So this document, as you can see, June 9th, 1983, this is from a commander, or it was to a commander, and it was from, another high-ranking military official. So as you can see, he opens up this memorandum with saying that, you asked me, he talks about the assignment that was presented to him. You asked me to provide an assessment of the Gateway experience in terms of its mechanics and ultimate practicality. As I set out to fulfill that tasking, it soon became clear that in order to assess the validity and practicality of the process, I needed to do enough supporting research and analysis to fully understand how and why the process works. Frankly, sir, that proved to be an extremely involved and difficult business. Initially, based on conversations with the physician who took the Gateway training with me, I had to recourse to biomedical models developed by Bentov and to obtain information concerning the physical aspects of the process. Then I found it necessary to delve into the various sources for information concerning quantum mechanics in order to be able to describe the nature and functioning of human consciousness. I had to be able to construct the nature and functioning of human consciousness, or I had to be able to construct a scientifically valid and reasonably lucid model of how consciousness functions under the influence of the brain hemisphere synchronization technique employed by Gateway. Once this was done, the next step was to recourse to theoretical physics in order to explain the character of the time-space dimension and the means by which expanded human consciousness transcends it in achieving Gateway's objectives. Finally, I again found it necessary to use physics to bring the whole phenomenon of out-of-body states into the language of physical science, to remove the stigma of its occult connotations and put it in a frame of reference suited to objective assignment. Okay, so now I'm going to let y'all know the findings over here. It goes very much hand in hand with the principles that were pushed in the Matrix in terms of the power of the mind, determining fate, right or wrong, etc., and so forth. So I want y'all to keep a very open mind, just like you would when you're watching a movie such as The Matrix, and apply that here, because what he is basically saying is he discusses a lot of lucid dreaming and astral projections and stuff of that sort. So this is like, I'm telling y'all, this is the real deal right here. If y'all don't know this, it's going to be very hard to know other things. So I figured I'd take the time today to go through this with y'all. So let's start this over here on subsection 2. Subsection 2 is over here. All right. I began the narrative by briefly profiling the fundamental biomedical factors affecting such related techniques as hypnosis, biofeedback, and transcendental meditation, so that their objectives and mode of functioning could be compared in the reader's mind with the Gateway experience as the model of its underlying mechanics was developed. Additionally, that introductory material is useful in supporting the conclusions of the paper. I indicate that at times these related techniques may provide useful entry points to accelerate movement into the Gateway experience. Now, y'all, don't forget, back in the 2000s, some of the first computers that were out, I remember in the schools and shit, they had an operating system called Gateway, or it was a Gateway computer. Number 3, Niels Bohr, okay? The renowned physicist once responded to his son's complaints about the obtuse nature of certain concepts in physics by saying, "You are not thinking, you are merely being logical. The physics of altered human consciousness deals with some conceptualizations that are not easily grasped or visualized exclusively in the context of ordinary left brain linear thinking." So to borrow Dr. Bohr's mode of expression, parts of this paper will require not only logic, but a touch of right brain intuitive insight to achieve a complete, comfortable grasp of the concepts involved. Nevertheless, once that is done, I'm confident that their construction and application will stand up to the test of rational critique. All right, so number 4, right? Number 4 over here, pay attention to this. Paradoxically, having gone to such great lengths to avoid trying to render judgments based on an occult or dogmatic frame of reference in the end, I found it necessary to return, at least briefly, to the question of the impact of the gateway experience on common belief systems. I did so because although it was essential to avoid attempting to render an assessment in the context of such systems, I felt that it was necessary, after having completed the analysis, to point out that the resulting conclusions do not do any violence to the fundamental mainstream of either Western or Eastern system beliefs. Okay, unless that point is clearly established, the danger exists that some people will reject the whole concept of the gateway experience in the mistaken belief that it contradicts and is therefore alien to all that they hold to be right and true. So listen, the person who wrote this report, right, this high-ranking military individual that he was assigned with this task, he literally put in subsection 4, okay? He literally put this here. He said, the danger exists that some people will reject the whole concept of the gateway experience in the mistaken belief that it contradicts and is therefore alien to all that they hold to be right and true. So he phrased that in a very careful way to basically say, yes, in the Eastern and Western systems, the fundamental beliefs or the fundamental teachings, some of those things aren't like fully true. You feel me? So let's move forward. Okay, introduction. In order to describe the Monroe Institute. So Monroe Institute is the institute the CIA was working with hand in hand. The government was working with an individual by the name of Robert Monroe, who started his name is Bob Monroe, started the Monroe Institute, right? And this individual was extremely brilliant. He's no longer here with us today. However, his daughter has continued his legacy. So Monroe Institute technique for achieving altered states of consciousness, the gateway experience involving brain hemisphere synchronization or HemiSync. The most effective way to begin is to briefly profile the basic mechanics which underlay operation of related methods such as hypnosis, transcendental meditation, and biofeedback. It is easiest to effectively describe what gateway is by beginning with a short description of those associated techniques that share some common aspects with the gateway experience, but which are nevertheless different. Okay. So nevertheless different, right? In this way, we can develop a frame of reference at the outset, which will provide useful concepts to explain and understand gateway by comparison. All right, so now, well, I'm not going to read through every single word. This subsection is about hypnosis, right? So it's going to break down the functions of the left sphere versus the right sphere of your brain, transcendental meditation. So, if y'all know what meta means, right? The prefix meta. Meta almost means like defying odds, going past conventional knowledge or limitations, right? So I say all this to say, when you watch, right, when you look at a word like metacortex, right, that means to transcend the human limitations of the mind. So similar to that, this gateway experience encapsulates the fact that humans, I became much more aware of this after I understood the gateway experience to the best of my ability. We oftentimes don't even know that we're indirectly imposing limitations on ourselves that don't even exist most of the time, right? And we do that because of societal factors and what we're taught, etc., and so forth. But keep that in mind. Now, what did I want to do? I want to scroll down here. So in essence, what I'm trying to tell y'all is that a lot of the things that you may think you're not capable of at this very moment, whether it's something physical, or intellectual or career-wise, whatever it may be. Just try to think for a second, detach yourself from your conventional way of thinking, and try to analyze whether or not that is sincerely how you feel, or that's a legitimate concern you have, or are you adopting, the status quo, or societal concerns, or whatever else it may be, based on the next individual as opposed to yourself. So keep that in mind. Now, gateway and hemisync, this is an important section right here, right? So they explained everything up here in terms of your brain chemistry and the difference in the two spheres. Now, gateway and hemisync. Now that we have briefly profiled the basic mechanics of the principal techniques for altering or expanding consciousness, which share some of the objectives and or methods employed in the gateway experience, we may proceed to focus on what technique actually involves. Fundamentally, the gateway experience is a training system designed to bring enhanced strength, focus, and coherence to the amplitude and frequency of brainwave output between the left and right hemispheres, so as to alter consciousness, moving it outside the physical sphere so as to ultimately escape even the restrictions of time and space to look at this. So to ultimately escape even the restrictions of time and space. So this is the, when you master this shit, right? It gets to a point where you're moving at a point of no time. You understand? You're moving at a point where, time is a factor, but in many ways, it's a factor. Time is a thing, but you're able to freeze the clock in many ways and move as if like the time's not even a factor, right? Was similar to a dream. The participant then gains access to the various levels of intuitive knowledge which the universe offers. What differentiates the gateway experience from forms of meditation is its use of the hemisync technique, which is defined in a monograph by Monroe Institute trainer Melissa Yager as a state of consciousness defined when the EEG patterns of both hemispheres are simultaneously equal in amplitude and frequency. Although the hemisync seems to be rather rare and of only short duration in ordinary human consciousness, Melissa Yager states that audio techniques developed by Bob Monroe can induce and sustain hemisync with the Institute's basic Focus 3 tapes, right? She also notes that studies conducted with all right, so there's a bunch of more stuff. So essentially what they do is they're talking about hertzes and frequencies, right? So just like in the Matrix, how they analogize humans to batteries, very similar concept here. And what the Monroe Institute, Bob Monroe, what he did was he started experimenting, working with individuals and playing binaural beats. Like we had the discussion about how the music in this day and age is not based on talent, clearly. So what is it based on, right? It's based on the frequencies, just like how we talk about these drill rap songs, right, are sending demonic frequencies. The ad-libs are doing the same thing or have a similar effect. It's the same thing, with any other frequencies. There's also positive frequencies. So different hertz levels that have different effects on your body and will, depending on what frequency it's at, it's going to apply to, it's going to open up different receptors within your brain, within your body. It's going to balance it out in certain ways. And it's going to have a profound impact. And I just want to say also, this is not just speculation. This is not just me fully relying on this report and saying that I believe that is the case. No, I actually did this myself, and I still am to this day. I've been doing this for almost 5 months now. It's going to be 5 months next week. And when I tell you that the progress that I made amongst myself in terms of self-realization, healing my ailments, many of which I didn't necessarily think were ailments at the time, until I, was able to be completely honest with myself about things, and just, being able to be extremely grateful for where I am right now in the present moment, despite whatever hardships may have come and whatever else may be going on. Like, I live a life full of gratitude now, where each day is, I really wake up feeling like what Jay Prince said in that quote one time. He's like, every day you wake up, you have a choice and a chance. And I feel that way. Not that I didn't before. It's one of those things where when I didn't know what I know now to this extent, it wasn't like I was living life knowing that I'm fucking up on this end or that end. It's certain things I was subconscious about, but I didn't necessarily address it the way that I did. So now that I did and had, you know, almost half a year under my belt, in hindsight, looking back at it, I'm like, damn, man, like really, it's some other shit. So I think this is very interesting too, because I think Nipsey was very much aware of the Gateway experience. And I was telling this to Kev before, but on Mailbox Money especially, there's certain lines that he said that make me believe that he completely understood what this shit was about. He knew what the Gateway experience is. Whether he knew about the particulars and the scientific terms in the document, I don't know. But I'm saying he knew, like he either intuitively knew or someone told him or he was put on notice, you feel me, about what that shit is about. Okay, so check this, right? Melissa Yager uses a metaphor to help clarify the process involved in the use of hemisync in the Gateway experience. She points out that the human mind in its natural state may be likened to an ordinary lamp, which expends energy in the form of both heat and light, but in a chaotic, incoherent way diffuses this energy over a wide area of rather limited depth. On the other hand, the human mind under the discipline of hemisync acts after the fashion of a laser beam, which produces a disciplined stream of light. The stream of energy is projected with total coherence of both frequency and amplitude, such that the surface area of a laser beam contains billions of times of the concentrated energy found in a similar surface of the sun, on the sun. Gateway assumes that once the frequency and amplitude of the human brain are rendered coherent, it is possible to begin accelerating both so that the human mind is soon resonating at ever higher vibrational levels. The mind can then bring itself into synchronization with more sophisticated and rarefied energy levels in the universe. Listen, look, the mind can then bring itself into synchronization with more sophisticated and rarefied energy levels in the universe. The mind, when operating at these increasingly rarefied levels, is assumed to be capable of processing the information thus received through the same fundamental matrix by which it makes sense of ordinary physical sensory input to achieve meaning in a cognitive context. Such meaning is usually perceived visually in the form of symbols, but may also be perceived as astonishing flashes of holistic intuition, or even in the form of scenarios involving both visual and oral perception. The mechanics by which the mind exercises the consciousness function will be addressed in more detail later in this paper. Okay. Frequency following response. To achieve synchronization of brain hemispheres, the hemisync technique takes advantage of a phenomenon known as a frequency following response, which means that if a subject hears a sound produced at a frequency which emulates one of those associated with the operation of the human brain, the brain will try to mimic the same frequency pattern by adjusting its brainwave output. Therefore, if the subject is in a fully awake state but hears sound frequencies which approximates brainwave output at the theta level, the subject's brain will endeavor to alter its brainwave pattern from the normal beta to the theta level. Since the theta level is associated with sleep, the subject concerned may progress from a fully awake to a sleep state, provided that he does not consciously resist, as the brain strives to entrain its wave frequency output with the one which the person hears. Since these brainwave frequencies are outside the spectrum of sounds which can be heard in pure form by the human ear, hemisync must produce them based on another phenomenon known as the brain's capacity for deducing beat frequencies. If the human brain is exposed to one frequency in the left ear, which is 10 hertz below another audible frequency played in the right ear, rather than hearing either of the two audible frequencies, the brain chooses to hear the difference between them, the beat frequency, thus availing itself of the FFR phenomenon and using the technique of beat frequencies. The gateway system uses hemisync and other audio techniques employing the FFR phenomenon to introduce a variety of frequencies which are played at a virtually subliminal, marginally audible level. The objective is to relax the left hemisphere of the brain, place the physical body in a virtual sleep state, and bring the left and right hemispheres into coherence under conditions designed to promote the production of ever higher amplitude and frequency of brain wave output. All right. So I think you're starting to understand, well, anybody who's watching this later or whenever is going to start to understand what this is about, okay? You're going to start to understand it, and you could Google it. Go look it up and go skim through it. It's going to take a lot of double reads in terms of like reading a sentence and having to reread it again because the verbiage here, it's like a sixth language that we're not taught in school. So it's going to be, you're going to have some difficulty in that sense. It's not difficulty in the traditional sense, just more so of like it's a little more tedious and burdensome. However, it's very much worthwhile. Brain coherence through entrainment to beat frequencies introduced via stereo headphones is only part of the reason why the gateway system works. It is also designed to achieve the physical quietude characteristic of deep transcendental meditative states, which brings about a complete alteration of the fundamental resonance pattern associated with the frequencies produced by the human body. Yoga, Zen, or transcendental meditation, if practiced long enough, will produce a change in the sound frequency with which the human heart resonates throughout the entire body. According to Bentov, this change in resonance results from the elimination of what the medical profession calls the bifurcation echo, so that the sound of the heartbeat can move synchronously up and down the circulatory system in harmonious resonance approximately 7 times a second. Bentov describes the role played by the bifurcation echo as follows. When the left ventricle of the heart ejects blood, the aorta, being elastic, balloons out just beyond the valve and causes a pressure pulse to travel along the down along the aorta. When the pressure pulse reaches the bifurcation in the lower abdomen, which is where the aorta forks in two to go into the legs, part of the pressure pulse rebounds and starts traveling up the aorta. If in the meantime the heart ejects more blood and a new pressure pulse is traveling down, these two pressure points will eventually collide somewhere along the aorta and produce an interference pattern. By placing the body in a sleep-like state, the gateway tapes achieve the same goal as meditation in that it places the body in such a profoundly relaxed state that the bifurcation echo slowly fades away as the heart lessens the force and frequency with which it pushes blood into the aorta. Okay, cool. So, let's go here. Damn, this shit is long as hell. So look, they start talking about different hertzes. Let's go over here. Energy entrainment as the body is turned into a coherent. Consciousness and energy. Let's go to this one. Before our explanation can proceed any further, it is essential to define the mechanism by which the human mind exercises the function known as consciousness. And to describe the way in which that consciousness operates to deduce meaning from the stimuli which it receives. To do this, we will first consider the fundamental character of the material world in which we have our physical existence in order to accurately perceive the raw stuff with which our consciousness must work. The first point which needs to be made is that the two terms, matter and energy, tend to be misleading if taken to indicate two distinctly different states of existence in the physical world that we know it. Indeed, if the term matter is taken to mean solid substance as opposed to energy, which is understood to mean a force of some sort, then the use of the former is entirely misleading. Science now knows that both the electrons which spin in the energy field located around the nucleus of the atom and the nucleus itself are made up of nothing more than oscillating energy grids. Solid matter, in the strict construction of the term, simply does not exist. Rather, atomic structure is composed of oscillating energy grids surrounded by other oscillating energy grids which orbit at extraordinarily high speeds. In his book, Stalking the Wind Pendulum, Bentov gives the following figures. The energy grid, which composes the nucleus of the atom, vibrates at approximately 10 to the 22nd power hertz, which means 10 followed by 22 zeros. At 70 degrees Fahrenheit, an atom oscillates at the rate of 10 to the 15th hertz. An entire molecule, okay, these are all numbers and shit. Holograms. So this is what I want to go over with y'all today. Finally here. Check this out. So holograms. Energy creates, stores, and retrieves meaning in the universe by projecting or expanding at certain frequencies in a oh my goodness. Yo, this bugged me out because this is literally Nipsey in the sentence. Energy creates, stores, and retrieves meaning in the universe by projecting or expanding at certain frequencies in a three-dimensional mode that creates a living pattern called a hologram. The concept of the hologram can be most easily understood by using an example cited by Bentov, in which he asked the reader to visualize a bowl full of water into which 3 pebbles are dropped. As the ripples created by the simultaneous entry of the 3 pebbles radiate outward towards the rim of the bowl, Bentov further asked the reader to visualize that the surface of the water is suddenly flash frozen so that the ripple pattern is preserved instantly. The ice is removed, leaving the 3 pebbles still laying at the bottom of the bowl. Then the ice is exposed to a powerful, coherent source of light, such as a laser. The result will be a 3-dimensional model or representation of the position of the 3 pebbles suspended in midair. Holograms are capable of encoding so much detail that, for example, it is possible to take a holographic projection of a glass swamp of water and view it under a magnification to see small organisms not visible to the naked eye when the glass of water itself is examined. The whole concept of, so when you think about the possibility of a hologram being used with rappers, right? Just understand that the details, there's so much details in it that are even beyond the naked eye. So therefore, we wouldn't be able to tell. The whole concept of holography, despite its implications, has only been known to the physicists since the underlying mathematical principles were worked out by Dennis Gabor in 1947. Okay. So, laboratory demonstration of his work occurred years later following the invention of the laser, and it was explained as the purest kind of light available to us is that produced by a laser, which sends out a beam in which all the waves are of one frequency, like those made by an ideal pebble in a perfect pond. When 2 laser beams touch, they produce an interference pattern of light and dark ripples that can be recorded on a photographic plate. And if one of the beams, instead of coming directly from the laser, is reflected first off an object such as the human face, the resulting pattern will be very complex indeed, but it can still be recorded. It can still be recorded. The record will be a hologram of the face. Interesting. Okay. The part encodes the whole. Of further importance is the fact that even if we dropped our frozen hologram of the ripple pattern on the floor and broke it into a number of pieces, each individual piece would recreate the entire holographic image all by itself. What? Each individual piece would recreate the hologram all by itself. The smaller the piece, the fuzzler and more distorted would be the resulting holographic projection, but the fact remains that a whole projection would nonetheless be made. The key to creating any hologram is that energy and motion must interact with energy in a state of rest, non-motion. In the foregoing example, the pebbles represent energy and motion, while the water, before its agitation by the pebbles, represents energy at a state of rest. To activate, or in effect, to perceive the meaning of a holograph, energy, in this case, a coherent light source such as a laser beam, must be passed through the interference pattern generated by interaction between the moving energy and the energy at rest. In the simple example given by Bentov, this requirement was fulfilled by holding the frozen interference pattern in front of the coherent light to project the 3-dimensional holographic image into space. Another feature of a hologram is its efficiency. Billions of bits of information can be stored in a tiny space. The pattern of the holographic photograph is stored everywhere on the plate. The consciousness matrix. This is where it gets real fun. The universe is composed of interacting energy fields, some at rest and some in motion. It is, in and of itself, one gigantic hologram of unbelievable complexity. According to the theories of Carl Pribram, a neuroscientist at Stanford University, and David Bohm, a physicist at the University of London, the human mind is also a hologram which attunes itself to the universal hologram by the medium of energy exchange, thereby deducing meaning and achieving the state which we call consciousness. With respect to states of expanded or altered consciousness, such as gateway uses, the process operates in the following way. As energy passes through various aspects of the universal hologram and is perceived by the electrostatic fields which comprise the human mind, the holographic images being conveyed are projected upon those electrostatic fields of the mind and are perceived or understood to the extent that the electrostatic field is operating at a frequency and amplitude that can harmonize with and therefore read the energy carrier wave pattern passing through it. Changes in the frequency and amplitude of the electrostatic field, which comprises the human mind, determines the configuration and hence the character of the holographic energy matrix, which the mind projects to intercept meaning directly from the holographic transmissions of the universe. Then, to make sense of what the holographic image is saying to it, the mind proceeds to compare the image just received with itself. Specifically, it does this by comparing the image received with that part of its own hologram which constitutes memory. By registering differences in geometric form and in energy frequency, the consciousness perceives. As psychologist Keith Floyd puts it, contrary to what everyone knows is so, it may not be the brain that produces consciousness, but rather consciousness that creates the appearance of the brain. Interesting. Okay. Brain in phase. The consciousness process is most easily envisaged if we picture the holographic input with its three-dimensional grid system superimposed over it such that all of the energy patterns contained within can be described in terms of the three-dimensional geometry using mathematics to reduce the data to two-dimensional form. Bentov states that scientists suspect that the human mind operates on a simple binary go, no, go system, as do all digital computers. Therefore, once it superimposes a three-dimensional matrix over a holographic information it wishes to interpret and reduces that information mathematically to two-dimensional form, it can completely process it using its fundamental binary system, just as any computer made by the hand of man can process volumes of data and make various comparisons between the data and information stored in its digital memory. Our minds operate in the same way, perceiving by comparison only. Bentov states that the proposition this way, our whole reality is constructed by constantly making such comparisons. Whenever we perceive something, we always perceive this with differences only. In states of expanded consciousness, the right hemisphere of the human brain in its holistic, nonlinear, and nonverbal mode of functioning acts as the primary matrix or receptor for this holographic input. While by operating in phase or coherence with the right brain, the left hemisphere provides the secondary matrix through its binary computer-like method of functioning to screen further the data by comparison and reduce it to a discrete two-dimensional form. Evaluation. What's up, Unc? Evaluation. To the extent that the gateway succeeds in bringing about a refinement in energy matrix of the mind, it succeeds in expanding or altering human consciousness so that it can perceive without recourse to the intercession of the physical senses, such that ever more of the universal hologram, not, of course, accessible by sense perception, can ultimately be perceived and understood. Ferguson has written that the theories of Pribram and Bone appear to account for all transcendental experience, paranormal events, and even normal perceptual oddities. She goes on to say of Pribram, currently he is proposing a startling, all-encompassing model that is generating considerable excitement among those intrigued by the mysteries of human consciousness. His holographic model marries brain research to theoretical physics. It accounts for normal perception and simultaneously takes the paranormal and transcendental experiences out of the supernatural by explaining them as part of nature. Like certain strange discoveries of quantum physics, the radical reorientation of this theory suddenly makes sense of paradoxical sayings of mystics throughout the ages. Self-cognition. To complete our outline of the process, To complete our outline of the process by which the mind achieves and exercises consciousness, we must also describe the mechanism which accounts for the aspect of human thought that differentiates it from the consciousness of plants or animals. In other words, self-cognition. Humans not only know, but they know that they know. They are able to monitor the process of their own thinking and maintain an awareness of it. Moreover, they can conduct a comparative assessment, evaluating the functioning of their thought processes against various objective standards they have adopted. Human consciousness can do this because it has the capacity to duplicate aspects of its own hologram, project them out, perceive that projection, put it through comparison with the memory aspect, where its evaluation standards of measure are stored of its own hologram, and measure or sense the differences using three-dimensional geometry, and then binary go, no go pulse to yield verbal cognition about the self. Damn. All right, this is where it gets real crazy. Time-space dimension. So let's go back and look at this right quick. Here's the consciousness energy grid. So if you look at this, right, there's a right sphere and a left sphere, but then it's also like layered. It's like three-dimensional. You know what I'm saying? So it's not like just top, bottom, left, right. It's like literally broken down into bits and pieces, angles, this energy grid, right? So now time-space dimension. Up to this point, our discussion of the gateway process has been relatively simple and easy to follow, right? This is where it gets really crazy, y'all. So if you stuck around, good for you. Now the fun begins. Gateway involves more than just perception of those aspects of the universal hologram which can be accessed in the dimension of time-space as we know it. To explain how and why human consciousness can be brought to transcend the limitations of time-space is the next task which must be addressed. To do this, we must first appreciate what time and space are in order to understand how the dimension that they constitute can be transcended. Physicists define time as a measurement of energy or force in motion. In other words, it is a measurement of change. However, in order for energy to be in motion, it must first be limited in some way within the confines of some sort of vibratory pattern, so that its confinement gives it the capacity for being contained at a specific location, which is distinguishable from other locations, like space. Energy which is not confined is force without limit, without dimension, without the limits of form. It is infinity, cannot move, because there is nothing beyond infinity, and is therefore outside of the dimension of time. It is also beyond space, because that concept implies that a specific energy form is limited to a specific location and is absent from other locations. But if energy is in the state of infinity, there are no boundaries, no here to differentiate from there, no sense of area. Energy in infinity means energy uniformly extended without limit. It has no beginning, no end, no location. It is conscious force, the fundamental, primal power of existence without form, a state of infinite being. Energy in infinity is said to be completely at rest, and therefore cannot generate holograms so long as it remains utterly inactive. Interesting. Very, very interesting. It retains its inherent capacity for consciousness in that it can receive and passively perceive holograms generated by energy and motion out in the various dimensions which make up the created universe, but it cannot be perceived by consciousness operating in the active universe. Energy in this state of inactive infinity is termed by physicists as energy in its absolute state, or simply the absolute. Between the absolute and the material universe in which we experience our physical existence are various intervening dimensions to which human consciousness and altered states of being may gain access. Theoretically, human consciousness may continue to expand the horizons of its perceptual capability until it reaches the dimension of the absolute, at which point perception stops because the absolute generates no holograms of or about itself. Now, y'all see why I said it might take a double read. The verbiage is a little tough, but I've read this so many times. Intervening dimensions. Since the absolute is conscious energy in infinity without boundaries, it occupies every dimension to include the time-space dimension in which we have our physical existence, but we cannot perceive it. It overlays everything, as do many of the intervening gradients or dimensions through which the energies of the universe pass on their way to and from their home in the state of infinity, the absolute. To enter these intervening dimensions, human consciousness must focus with such intense coherence that the frequency of the energy pattern which comprises that consciousness, in other words, the brain wave output, can accelerate to the point where the resulting frequency pattern, if displayed on an oscilloscope, would look virtually like a solid line. Achievement of this state of altered consciousness sets the stage for perception of non-time-space dimensions because of the operation of a principle in physics known as Planck's distance. This is an aspect of quantum mechanics which applies to the fact that any oscillating frequency, such as brainwave, reaches 2 points of complete rest which constitute the boundaries of each individual oscillation, movement up or down. Without these points of rest, an oscillating wave pattern would be impossible since the points of rest are required to permit the energy to change direction and thus continue vibrating between rigid limits. But it is also true that when, for an infinitesimally brief instant, that energy reaches one of its 2 points of rest, it clicks out of time-space and joins infinity. See Exhibit 3, next page. All right, let's go look at this exhibit real quick. Clicked out. Portion. Gotcha. Okay. 1033, huh? Okay. That critical step out of time-space occurs when the speed of oscillation drops below 10 to the negative 33 degrees. Is that what it is? Something like that. Centimeters per second, Planck's distance. To use the words of Bentov, quantum mechanics tell us that when distances go below Planck's distance, we enter, in effect, a new world. What? All right, so this is it. Oh, my girl's up in here. It's good, Miss Dev. I'm so happy you're here. I was thinking about you this morning. All right, back to reading. So peep this. To use the words of Bentov, quantum mechanics tell us that when distances go below Planck's distance, which is 10 to the negative 33 degrees centimeters, we enter, in effect, a new world. To return to our case in point, the human consciousness wave pattern reaches such high frequency that the pattern of clickouts comes so close together that there is virtually continuity in it. Then a portion of that consciousness is actually postulated to establish and maintain its information collection function in those dimensions located between time, space, and the absolute, Thus, as the almost continuous click-out pattern establishes itself in continuous phase at speeds continuous click-out pattern, at speeds below Planck's distance, but before reaching the state of total rest, human consciousness passes through the looking glass of time-space after the fashion of Alice beginning her journey into Wonderland. The gateway experience, with its associated hemisync technique, is apparently designed, if used systematically and patiently, to enable human consciousness to establish a coherent pattern of perception in those dimensions where speeds below Planck's distance apply. This holds true irrespective of whether the individual is exercising his consciousness while in his physical body, or whether he is doing so after having separated that consciousness from the physical body. The so-called out-of-body experience, out-of-body state mentioned earlier. Interesting. Okay, so subatomic particles. The behavior of subatomic particles provides an interesting example of the phenomenon of clicking out, discussed in the preceding paragraphs. In an article prepared for Science Digest magazine, Dr. John Gleedman mentions the way in which subatomic particles communicate with each other once their energy fields become entrained as a result of colliding with each other. The communication concerned is, of course, postulated to be occurring during the click-out phase, in the oscillation of the energy fields comprising the subatomic particles concerned. It is this cause which accounts for the cross-communication at what, in terms of time-space velocities, would seem to involve speeds in excess of light. In reality, Einstein's theory of relativity is not being invalidated, but rather the communication concerned is taking place outside the dimension of time-space to which the theory of relativity is strictly confined. Oh, I get this now. Wow, reading this for like the 10th or 20th time, I finally understand this now. So peep this, right? Peep this. So they keep, every time they say within this report, they bring up one of the fundamental principles or so-called facts that are being taught through the education system, that these things are based on a finite reality. When the reality, I shouldn't have used reality, but the situation, like what I'm getting at right now, is that there is no such thing as, there is finite, right? But the universe is infinite. The universe is infinite. So based on the universe, the rules that we apply to a finite earth aren't going to apply. And that's where the conflict comes. Whether someone has a conflict with, I'm not even going to call it a religion. I'm going to call it spirituality, right? Tapping in with the highest source, with the most high, or, or not, or anything else. I'm starting to really understand this. So this is interesting how they broke that down, right? There's several realities all at once. Astral voyage. Yeah, it's like that, Miss Dev. Real talk. I'm telling you, sis. Like, we got to chop it up real soon because I think you'll be very happy, first and foremost. But you'll also be somewhat surprised at, all the knots that I tied, especially after talking to people of your intelligence. Let me get back to this. We're almost done here. So this is very interesting, though. All right, so they're basically saying that, look, Einstein's theory, there's neither of them are false because Einstein's theory is applicable to a finite Earth, right? However, it doesn't apply. It doesn't apply. It's confined, right? When you try to apply it to the infinite, to the universe. Specifically, Dr. Gleeman tells us quantum theory postulates a kind of long-range Siamese twin effect whenever two subatomic particles collide and then go their different ways. Even when the particles are halfway across the universe from each other, it says they instantaneously respond to each other's actions. And in so doing, they violate relativity's ban on faster than light velocities. Indeed, regarding attempts to quantify what is known about the behavior of energy in dimensions apparently outside of time-space, Bentov speaks about courageous physicists who are working on hypothetical particles called I'm not even going to try this one. Tachyons, which can move at speeds higher than light. Okay, the speed of tachyons starts just above the speed of light and ranges all the way to infinite velocities. Okay, dimensions in between. Now that we have postulated the legitimacy of the assertion that the energy forms which compose consciousness can move beyond the time-space dimension, we need to turn our attention to the energy forms which inhabit those dimensions between time, space, and the absolute. In so doing, we may better perceive the form that reality assumes when we encounter it in those intermediate dimensions. In this context, Bentham tells us that the causal relationship between events breaks down. Movements become jerky rather than smooth. Time and space may become grainy or chunky. Perhaps a piece of space can be traversed by a particle of matter in any direction without necessarily being synchronized with the piece of time. In short, a pair of events will occur in either time or space, the pair not being connected causally, but by a random fluctuation. What Bentov means is that inside the dimension of time-space, where both concepts apply in a generally uniform way, there is a proportional relationship between them. A certain space can be covered by energy moving in either particle or waveform in a certain time, assuming a specific velocity virtually anywhere in the time-space universe. The relationship is neat and predictable. However, in the intermediate dimensions beyond time-space and the limitations imposed on energy to put it into a state of oscillating motion are not uniform as they are in our physical universe. Okay, you see, I got to repeat the sentence. However, in the intermediate dimensions beyond time-space, the limitations imposed on energy to put it into a state of oscillating motion are not uniform as they are in our physical universe. A myriad of various distortions and incongruities are thus likely to be encountered, such that our nice, neat assumptions concerning the relationship between time and space as we know it in this dimension do not apply. Huh? You see? You see this shit? But even more important, access is open to both the past and the future when the dimension of current time-space is left behind. Wow, access to both the past and the future. So now, y'all see, I mentioned this on Kev's show several times. I think like as recent as maybe a week or two ago. But aren't y'all starting to see that history doesn't seem like a linear trajectory anymore? It seems like almost like it's an infinity sign. You feel me? That's why that saying history repeats itself is truer than ever. You understand what I'm trying to say here? So that I think that's what they're getting at over here by saying this. But even more important, access is open to both the past and the future when the dimension of current time space is left behind. Okay. Special status, out-of-body experience. Although human consciousness can, with enough practice, move beyond the dimension of time-space and interface with other energy systems in other dimensions, the entire process is appreciably enhanced if that consciousness can be detached in large measure from the physical body before such interface is attempted. Okay, so this is the out-of-body, right? Once an individual becomes proficient in the technique of out-of-body movement and then reaches the point where he is able to break out of time-space while out of his body, he gains the advantage of clicking out part of his enhanced consciousness while starting from a base located much closer to the dimensions with which he wishes to communicate. In other words, since he is starting from a point much higher up, to use an analogy from the time-space context, that part of his consciousness involved in clicking out will have that much more time to interact in dimensions beyond time-space, because less time is required to traverse the intervening layers. Moreover, once the individual is able to project his consciousness beyond time-space, that consciousness would logically tend to entrain its frequency output with the new energy environment to which it is exposed, therein greatly enhancing the extent to which the individual's altered consciousness may be further modified to achieve a much heightened point of focus and a much refined oscillating pattern. As a result, a self-reinforcing process should ensue whereby the farther consciousness in the out-of-body state can be projected beyond the time-space dimension, the more its level of energy output would be enhanced, thus promoting the potential for still further travel. The tentative conclusion to be drawn is that the out-of-body state may be regarded as an extremely effective way of accelerating the process of enhancing consciousness and of interfacing with dimensions beyond time-space. If the practitioner of the gateway technique has a choice of concentrating on achieving and exploiting the out-of-body experience as opposed to concentrating his full efforts on expanding his consciousness exclusively from a physical base, the former would appear to promise much faster and more impressive successes than does the latter. Okay, so the former in this case would be concentrating on achieving and exploiting the out-of-body experience, right? This would happen, so that would happen much faster than expanding his consciousness from a solely physical base. So they're saying, like if you astral project or you time travel, whatever you want to call it, that will be much more effective in achieving a level of consciousness. Absolute in perspective. It may be helpful at this point to pause and recap the major aspects of our intellectual journey from time-space to the realm of the absolute. We have spoken at some length concerning the incredibly complex hologram which is created by the intersection of energy patterns generated by the totality of all dimensions of the universe, time-space included. We have noted that our minds constitute energy fields which interact with various aspects of this hologram to deduce information which is ultimately processed through the left hemisphere of our brains to reduce it to a form that we employ for the process we call thinking. That's right. So just to remind y'all from before, they said three-dimensional, like a hologram from the universal hologram that will penetrate our thoughts through our right hemisphere, right? And then our left hemisphere will narrow it down to a two-dimensional way of discerning. You feel me? For lack of words. So that's interesting. Okay, so we have implied that this hologram is the finite embodiment in active energy form of the infinite consciousness of the absolute. It is the title we assign to that vast pool of energy in a state of perfect rest over which the physical universe is layered and from whence it comes. Incidentally, to describe this, Bentov uses the analogy of a very deep sea, comparing the still depths of the sea to the dimension of the absolute, while assigning the storm-tossed waves above to represent the physical universe with which we are familiar. Oh, I like that. I like that analogy. The slightly agitated currents of the sea to be found in between the turbulent surface and the totally still depths represent energy in the process of either going into rest or coming out of rest. So when you're going to rest, you approach infinity. From Bang to Taurus, from Big Bang to Taurus. Okay. Working from the widely accepted Big Bang theory, Bentov presents a conceptual model to depict the process of time-space evolution, the relative position of the universal hologram. That hologram is often called a torus. That hologram is often called a torus. Huh. Torus, huh? A torus. Okay. Because it is thought to have the overall shape of an immense self-contained spiral. basing his thesis on recent studies concerning the distribution of quasars, which is quasi-stellar objects, and operating on the premise that in the universe, smaller processes tend to be mirror images of larger ones. In other words, the patterns of electrons around the nucleus of an atom mirrors the way planets orbit their suns and so on. Oh, look at that. Bentov postulates the following scenario. Taking his cue from the observed capability of quasars to eject enormously concentrated beams of matter from their interiors in a controlled non-concentric version of Big Bang, he envisages a similar process occurring in the generation of the universe. Okay, so see Exhibit 4. Let's peep this real quick. So like a spiral over here, you see this is the simple torus. Okay, cool. Noting that the galaxies located to the north of our own galaxy are moving away faster than those located to the south, and that those to the east and west are demonstrably more distant. Bentov regards this as substantive evidence that the jet of matter which expanded into our universe has turned back upon itself, eventually forming an ovoid or egg shape. He sees matter in our universe entering the void pattern. I don't even know how to pronounce that. Following ejection from a nucleus composed of extremely compressed energy through a white hole. At the end of its trip to the far end of the void, he sees it departing via a black hole. In such a model, time is observed to be a measure of the change which occurs as energy evolves into the new, more complex forms as it progresses along the distance from the white hole side of the nucleus around the shell of this cosmic egg until it enters the black hole. In other words, as energy expelled from infinity and confined within limits by the conscious of the absolute achieves form and motion following ejection from the white hole at the top of the egg. Time begins as a measure of the cadence of this evolutionary movement as reality goes around the shell of the egg on its journey to the black hole at the far end. Okay, so white hole, come around, black hole. Got you. All right, so our place in time. The observed distribution of galaxies suggests that our particular universe is located near the top of the egg at the point where matter begins to fall back on itself, thus explaining the reason why galaxies to the north are seen to be moving away more rapidly as they are caught up in the downturn of the stream of matter towards the far end of the cosmic egg. Layered over this cosmic egg is the absolute, which sustains the radiating nucleus from which the original jet of matter issued forth. As the stream of matter moves around the ovoid towards its destination at the black hole, where it will be reabsorbed into the radiating nucleus, and then the absolute, it generates the interference pattern within the cosmic egg, which constitutes the universal hologram or torus. Since the torus is being simultaneously generated by matter in all the various phases of time, it reflects the development of the universe in the past, present, and future, as it would be seen from our particular perspective in one phase of time. By reflecting on this model, it becomes possible to see how human consciousness brought to a sufficiently altered state, focused, right, could obtain information concerning the past. By reflecting on this model, it becomes possible to see how human consciousness brought to a sufficiently altered state could obtain information concerning the past, present, and future, since they all exist in the universal hologram simultaneously. You see that? You see that? Wow. Wow. Yeah, this blew my mind when I first read it, and it blew my mind just again. Okay. So, in the case of the future, because all of the consequences of the past and present can be seen coming together in the hologram, such that the future can be predicted or seen with total accuracy. Moreover, it is possible to see how the implosion of energy patterns would cross and recross to create an incredibly complex four-dimensional hologram or torus in spiral shape and reflection of the multi-dimensional developing pattern of evolution. All of the movements of the energies which comprise the universe leave their mark and hence tell their story throughout time. Quality of consciousness. Let me check on the comments real quick. The new Jerusalem. Ooh. Quality of consciousness. We noted earlier that the out-of-body state involves projection of a major portion of the energy pattern that represents human consciousness so that it may move either freely throughout the terrestrial sphere for purposes of information acquisition or into other dimensions outside of time-space, perhaps to interact with other forms of consciousness within the universe. Consciousness is the organizing and sustaining principle that provides the impetus and guidance to bring and keep energy in motion within a given set of parameters so that a specific reality will result. I like that. Consciousness is the organizing and sustaining principle that provides the impetus and guidance to bring and keep energy in motion within a given set of parameters so that a specific reality will result. When consciousness reaches a state of sophistication in which it can perceive itself, its own hologram, it reaches the point of self-cognition. Human beings have this form of elevated consciousness, as does the absolute, but in case of the latter, it is a function of energy and its associated quality of consciousness in infinity, omniscience, and omnipotence in perceptual unity. When energy returns to a state of total rest within the absolute, it returns to the continuum of consciousness in the pool of limitless, timeless perception that resides there. Thus, the more complex an energy system is in the material state, the more consciousness it possesses to maintain its reality. Our consciousness, therefore, is that differentiated aspect of the universal consciousness which resides within the absolute. It accounts for the organization of the energy patterns which constitute our physical body, but is distinctly separate from and superior to it. Since consciousness exists quite apart from and outside of reality, beyond the bounds of time-space, like the absolute has neither beginning nor end. Reality has both a beginning and an end because it is bounded within time-space, but the fundamental quantum of energy and its associated consciousness is eternal. When reality ends, its constituent energy simply returns to infinity in the absolute. Yo, that is cold, man. That is cold. How they piece that together, bro. This just reminds me of Nipsey, like real shit, bro. Wow, wow. Consciousness in perspective. Having ascertained that human consciousness is able to separate from physical reality and interact with other intelligences in other dimensions within the universe, and that is both eternal and destined for ultimate return to the absolute, we are faced with the question, so what happens then? Since memory is a function of consciousness and therefore enjoys the same eternal character as the consciousness which accounts for its existence, it must be admitted that when consciousness returns to the absolute, it brings with it all the memories it has accumulated through experience and reality. Huh. The return of consciousness to the absolute does not imply an extinction. Yo, you know why I just stopped there? I was thinking about the Matrix scene with the architect. You know what I'm saying? That's literally what it is. Um, the return of Wait, since memory is a function of consciousness and therefore enjoys the same eternal character as the consciousness which accounts for its existence, it must be admitted that when consciousness returns to the absolute, it brings with it all the memories it has accumulated through experience and reality. That's what DMT does too. The return of consciousness to the absolute does not imply an extinction of the separate entity which the consciousness organized and sustained in reality. Rather, it suggests a differentiated consciousness which merges with and participates in the universal consciousness and infinity of the absolute without losing the separate identity and accumulated self-knowledge which its memories confer upon it. What it does lose is the capability for generation of independent thought holograms, since that can be done only by energy and motion. In other words, it retains the power to perceive but loses the power of will or choice. In exchange, however, this consciousness participates in the all-knowing infinite continuum of consciousness. Consciousness, which is a characteristic of energy in the ever-present. Consequently, it is accurate to observe that when a person experiences the out-of-body state, he is, in fact, projecting that eternal spark of consciousness and memory which constitutes the ultimate source of his identity, to let it play in and learn from dimensions both inside and outside the time-space world in which his physical component currently enjoys a short period of reality. Yo, this is crazy. This is like the ether thing that we were talking about a few weeks too. This shit get wild. Okay, so gateway method. This is where it gets fun. Having put the gateway experience in context by postulating a structural outline of how and why it seems to work, and having shown what it is designed to achieve, the time has come to examine the specific techniques which comprise the gateway training process. These techniques are designed to enable the user of the gateway tapes to manipulate the high energy states, which can be achieved if the user continues to work with the tapes over a period of time. The amount of time required to reach advanced energy states and to fully exploit the techniques varies with the individual. The sensitivity of his nervous system, his general state of mind, and the extent to which he may have previously developed facility in related techniques such as transcendental meditation are all pertinent factors affecting the speed at which he may expect to progress. The gateway process begins by teaching the individual participant to isolate extraneous concerns in a visualization device called an energy conversion box. Next, the participant is introduced to a method of encouraging his mind and body to strive to achieve a state of resonance through utterance of a single tone, a monotonous, protracted humming sound that sets up a feeling of vibration, particularly in the head. He engages in this resonant tuning, as it is called, by humming along with the chorus of such sounds that are contained on the gateway tape. Following this, the participant is exposed to the gateway affirmation and is encouraged to repeat it to himself as he hears it repeated on the tape. This affirmation is a statement to the effect that the individual realizes that he is more than merely a physical body and that he deeply desires to expand his consciousness. Hemisync introduced. After that, he is exposed for the first time to the hemisync sound frequencies and is encouraged to focus on and develop a perception of and appreciation for those feelings which accompany the synchronization of brain waves that results. Next comes the technique of progressive and systematic physical relaxation, while the hemisync frequencies are expanded to include additional forms of pink and white noise designed to put the physical body at the virtual threshold of sleep, as well as to calm the left hemisphere of the mind while raising the right hemisphere to a state of heightened attentiveness. Once all of this is achieved, the participant is invited to envisage creation of an energy balloon comprised of an energy flow beginning at the center of the top of the head and extending down in all directions to the feet. The energy involved in this flow then proceeds up through the body and back out into the balloon again. The energy balloon, which sets up a pattern of very reminiscent A pattern very reminiscent of the cosmic egg discussed earlier, not only enhances bodily energy flow and encourages early achievement of a suitable resonant state, but it is also designed to provide protection against conscious entities possessing lower energy levels, which the participant might encounter in the event that he achieves an out-of-body state. It serves as a precautionary purpose in the unlikely event that the participant's first out-of-body experience involves direct projection of the terrestrial sphere. Advanced techniques. Having reached focus 10. Okay, so the Monroe Institute, Bob Monroe, he created levels. So it's focus 1, focus 2, focus 3, focus 4, focus 5, focus 6. Or it might not start on 1, but it's focus 10. And it only went up to like focus 12, I believe, or 13. But in recent times, especially after Bob Monroe passed away, it has been reported that people have exceeded, what was thought to be the ceiling. And I also want to mention to y'all the reason why I understand this gateway experience or this document, this report so much is because when I was a kid, I was actually in a program called Gifted and Talented. It was called GATE, right? GATE. Now, after I started learning about the gateway experience, I quickly realized that the program that I was in was a derivative, right, of the gateway experience, and it was put in public school systems to start recruiting the next generation of leaders and in my opinion, government operatives, if I'm going to be quite frank with you. So let's get back to this here. Because I'm just going to put it like this. Out of the 5 other kids that was in the program, more than half of them are working with the government. So I'm just going to leave it at that. And the type of things that they teach you in there, the type of tactics, you have to understand that, MK Ultra and even like the gateway experience, the timing of these things, was during a time when they they had to win wars mentally, you feel me? Because they couldn't just drop a nuke on anybody anymore. It had to be won mentally. So during the Cold War, they came up with these kind of tactics so they could beat the opponent mentally. Okay, so having reached focus 10, the participant is now ready to endeavor to achieve a state of sufficiently expanded awareness to begin actually interacting with dimensions beyond those associated with this experience of physical reality. This state is called focus 12 and involves conscious efforts on his part, while additional forms of pink and white noise enter the sound stream being directed into his ears from the gateway type. Once the participant has achieved a state of greatly expanded awareness, he is ready to begin employing a series of specific techniques or tools, as the Monroe Institute characterizes them, which enable him to manipulate his newly found expanded awareness to obtain practical, useful feedback of value for promoting self-discovery and personal growth. The specific techniques involved are described individually below. Okay, so problem solving, right? They have a problem solving. Okay, I'm just going to skim read this. Filling his expanded awareness with his perception of these problems and then projecting them out into the universe. The individual enlists the assistance of his higher self, his expanded consciousness, to interact with the universal hologram. Patterning. Desired objectives in the physical, emotional, or intellectual sphere. It involves concentration on the desired objective while in a focus 12 state. Okay. Color breathing. To imagine various colors in a particularly intense and vivid manner so as to use them to resonate with and in turn to activate the body's own energies. Fundamentally, in terms of practical application, it is a healing technique which is designed to restore the body and to enhance its physical capabilities by balancing, revitalizing, and retuning bodily energy flows. All right, cool. It is predicted on the principle that the body's electromagnetic field is capable of altering its resonance pattern so as to entrain energy from the Earth's electrostatic field for its own use. Yeah, that is a fact. Energy bar tool. Let's see this one. Magic wands and enchanted scepters have been part of the folklore and occult practices. The scepters, staffs, and maces carried by monarchs and high priests alike occur with such frequency in the history of bygone eras as to suggest that, at the very least, these items are aspects of some archetypical symbol which the human mind seems to appreciate, perhaps quite subliminally. In any case, the energy bar tool technique involves envisaging a small, intensely pulsating dot of light, which the participant charges in his imagination with enormous energy until it is virtually pulsating. The participant then extrudes the dot into a shape of sparkling, vibrating cylinder of energy, which he then uses to channel force from the universe to selected parts of his body for purposes of healing and vitalization. Remote viewing. Okay, it's a portal for initiating a follow-on technique called remote viewing. Participant turns his bar of energy into a whirling vortex through which he sends his imagination in search of a new and illuminating insights. The apparent purpose of the symbolism involved in the vortex seems to be to cue the subconscious and convey to it instructions as to what the participant wishes to do, but in terms of nonverbal symbols, which the right hemisphere of the mind is capable of understanding. Okay, so living body map. This technique provides amplification for application of the energy bar tool as a means of healing specific areas or systems of the human body. Exactly. Yep. The configuration of the participant's body is imagined, and then the various major systems, such as the nervous and circulatory systems, are envisaged in appropriate colors within confines of the outline, being held in imagination. The tool is then applied to energizing, balancing, and healing in whatever manner the participant desires. In the process, the participant visualizes various streams of color energy flowing out of the tool into the organ system or area upon which the revitalizing or healing application is being made. Since colors are the result of differing wavelengths of light, which is to say energy at various frequencies, this technique operates on the assumption that as the human body is composed of energy, it can be vitalized and healed through the additive application of additional energy, provided that the energy is applied in the appropriate form. So y'all, we're really like batteries. You know how they said that in the Matrix? Like they gave that battery analogy. That's literally what it is. You too, Tyree? You a gay kid? That's what's up. Damn, I mean, I'm not surprised at all, bro. That's wild. We definitely got to chop it up about that off air sometime. I got kicked out of that shit. I left that part out, but I'll tell you that off air. I ain't get kicked out because of my, intellectual deficiencies either. Just, I was 10 years old, man. Fucking witnessed my dad almost kill my mom for the first time, bro. My head wasn't in no gate. Like, fucking trying to survive at that time in my life. But anyhow, Focus 15. All right, so, man, give me one moment, y'all. I'm just gonna catch up on the chat thread. Just take a little sip of water. Miss Def, meet Tyree. Tyree, Miss Def. Tyree, Miss Def is fan since day one. We you know what I'm saying? Miss Def had a crazy channel. She had a dope ass channel with crazy content, crazy amount of content, and they boomed her shit, which had me fucked up. But she's back, and Miss Def, Tyree is he's from the land. He tapped in out there, and him, me, and Kev, we became a formidable trio a few months back, and we've been on it since. But anyhow, let's go. Focus 15, traveling to the past. All the preceding techniques are conducted at the level of expanded awareness, known as Focus 12. However, the technique of time travel into the past involves further expansion of consciousness through the inclusion of additional levels of sound on the hemisync tapes. Y'all, let me tell you something right now. This past summer, I was definitely on at least Focus 15 because I implemented. Man, I fucking did this whole hemisync shit. Like I told most of the family, I stopped listening to all rap basically except Nipsey, and cut out all the rap in favor of listening to binaural beats. Now, when I tell y'all, I literally time travel, right? Like in Minority Report, how Tom Cruise is able to watch like that screen that just pops up. It's not like a physical screen. It's just he gets to rewatch memories from the past, like he's watching TV. It's the same shit that I was doing this summer. I swear to God, like I was literally traveling to the past with a lot of different situations and shit that I didn't get full closure with. And it's like I finally understood the shit I couldn't understand for the longest. I can't call it. I can't explain it, but you know, it's real though. I'll just tell you that. So now, okay, do the inclusion of additional levels of sound on the hemisync tapes. Some of the sound is probably merely an intensification of the basic hemisync frequencies being designed to further modify brainwave frequency and amplitude. Other aspects of the added sound patterns appear to be designed to provide subtle, almost subliminal suggestions to the mind as to what is desired by way of further expanded consciousness, so as to support the verbal suggestion and instructions also contained on the tape. Even the instructions are highly symbolic, with time being visualized as a huge wheel in the universe with various spokes, each of which gives access to a different part of the participant's past. Focus 15 is a very advanced state and is extremely difficult to achieve. Probably less than 5% of all participants in any gateway experience actually fully achieve the Focus 15 state during the course of the approximately 7 days of training. Nonetheless, Monroe Institute trainers affirm that with enough practice, eventually Focus 15 can be achieved. They also state that not only the individual's past history is available for examination by one who has achieved Focus 15, but other aspects of the past with which the individual himself had no connection may also be accessed. Right, right. Focus 21. The last and most advanced of all the focus states associated with the Gateway Training Program involves movement outside of the boundaries of time-space, as in Focus 15, but with attention to discovering the future rather than the past. The individual has achieved this state. The individual who has achieved the state has reached a truly advanced level. Except in unusual circumstances, it is probably not attainable except by those who have conditioned themselves through long application of meditation, or by those who have practiced long and hard through use of the hemisync tapes for a period of months, if not years. The out-of-body movement. This remarkable phenomenon has been saved for discussion in detail until last because of the interest with which it occasions and special circumstances involved in its attainment. Monroe Institute stresses that the Gateway Program was not established solely for the purpose of enabling participants to obtain the out-of-body state, nor does the program guarantee that most participants will succeed in doing it during the course of the training. Only one tape out of the many which make up the Gateway experience is devoted to the techniques involved in the out-of-body movement. Basically, these techniques are merely designed to make it easier for the individual to achieve out-of-body state when his brainwave pattern and personal energy levels have reached the point that he is in apparent harmony with this surrounding electromagnetic environment, such that he feels that he has reached the threshold where separation is a possibility. To facilitate achieving the out-of-body state by Monroe, the founder of Monroe Institute is quoted saying that in order to assist the participant, the particular hemisync tape concerned with that technique employs beta signals around 2877.3 CPS, cycles per second. Okay, since 30 to 40 is considered to be the normal range for beta brainwave signals, those associated with the wakeful state, it is apparent that the Monroe Institute is convinced that the same heightened state of brainwave frequency output, which promotes altered states of consciousness, is also an important consideration in assisting in achievement of out-of-body states. The actual techniques employed for separating from the body involve such simple maneuvers as rolling out, lifting out after the fashion of a telephone pole, wherein the individual separates in a rigid head-first manner, such that he finds himself standing at attention at the foot of his physical body and sliding out through either end of his body. Huh. 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 This is wild. So now role of REM sleep. I think we all know that you need your REM sleep. All right, I'm gonna go to this one, number 33. Information collection potential. The information acquisition potential associated with the out-of-body state seems to attract the most attention from the standpoint of developing practical applications to the gateway technique. Unfortunately, although the out-of-body state can apparently be achieved by many people without excessive expenditure of time or effort, the purposes to which it can be put are currently limited by the fact that although individuals in that state may travel anywhere on an instantaneous basis in either the terrestrial or in other spheres, information distortion in the former context remains a major concern. To date, according to one of the trainers at the Monroe Institute, numerous experiments have been conducted involving persons moving from one coast to the other in the out-of-body state to read a series of 10 computer-generated numbers in a university laboratory. Although most have acquired enough of the digits to make clear that their consciousness was present, none have ever succeeded in getting all 10 correct. This seems to be a function of the fact that physical reality in the present is not the only holographic influence which the individual may encounter in an out-of-body state. Oh, this is heat right here. This is heat. This seems to be a function of the fact that physical reality in the present is not the only holographic influence which the individual may encounter in an out-of-body state. There are also energy patterns left by people or events occurring at the same physical site being viewed, but from the past rather than the present. In addition, since thoughts are the product of energy patterns and energy patterns are reality, it may also be possible that individuals encounter thought forms while in an out-of-body state which mingle with physical reality and are not easily differentiated. Finally, as Melissa Yaga writes, there is another potential problem area in the sense that holograms can be viewed pseudoscopically. That is to say, inside out or backwards, just as well as they can be seen in proper perspective. Some of the distortions occurring may ultimately prove to be traceable to this cause, because in the out-of-body state, an individual may perceive the holographic energy patterns given off by people or things interacting in time-space reality in a somewhat distorted form. Huh. Belief system considerations. Okay. Secret oral teachings in Tibetan Buddhist sects. Man, this shit sounds sexual as hell. Secret oral teachings in Tibetan Buddhist sects. All right. So anyhow, the tangible world is movement, say the masters, not a collection of moving objects, but movement itself. There are no objects in movement. It is the movement which constitutes the objects which appear to us. They are nothing but movement. This movement is a continued and indefinitely rapid succession of flashes of energy, in Tibetan Sol or Shug. Oh, Shug, huh? Shug Knight? Okay. Saul Goodman? Okay. All objects perceptible to our senses, all phenomena of whatever kind and whatever aspect they may assume, are constituted by a rapid succession of instantaneous events. The classic description of the universal hologram is to be found in a Hindu sutra, which says, in the heaven of Indra, there is said to be a network of pearls so arranged that if you look at one, you see all the others reflected in it. I have cited this quotation because it shows that the concept of the universe, which at least some physicists are now coming to accept, is identical in its essential aspects with the one known to the learned elite in selected civilizations and cultures of high attainment in the ancient world. The concept of the cosmic egg, for example, is well known to scholars familiar with the ancient writings of the Eastern religions. nor are the theories presented in this paper at variance with the essential tenets of the Judeo-Christian stream of thought. The concept of visible reality, in other words, the created world, what? Okay, created world, huh? As being an emanation of an omnipotent and omniscient divinity who is completely unknowable in his primary state of being. The absolute at rest in infinity is a concept straight out of Hebrew mystical philosophy. Even the Christian concept of the Trinity shines through the description of the absolute as presented in this paper. The description of energy totally at rest in infinity fits the Christian metaphysical concept of the Father, while the infinite self-consciousness resident in that energy, providing the motive force of will to bring a portion of that energy into motion to create reality, corresponds with the sun. This is so because in order to attain self-consciousness, the consciousness of the absolute must project a hologram of itself and then perceive it. That hologram is a mirror image of the absolute in infinity, still exists outside time and space, but is one step removed from the absolute and is the actual agent of all creation, all reality. And the eternal thought or concept of self, which results from this self-consciousness, serves the what? This shit just ends here. Why did they cut out those two sections? All right, whatever. Motivational aspect, conclusion. Okay, it is this. No, we're gonna get to this. We're gonna finish this out. It's good, Archangel. Quantum leaping indeed. All right, so motivational aspect. It is a step-by-step procedure which involves repetitive practice of the techniques concerned, using each new insight as a means of penetrating farther during the next practice session. But the rate of progress is so much faster with the gateway approach than it is with transcendental meditation or other forms of mental self-discipline, and its horizons seem to be so much wider than the discipline needed to practice it, which seem to be within the means of even the impatient, result-oriented, skeptical pragmatists of our society. Unlike yoga and other forms of Eastern mental discipline, gateway does not require the infinite patience and total personal subservience to and faith in a system of discipline designed to absorb all the individual's energies over most of a lifetime. Rather, it will begin to produce at least minimal results within a relatively short time, such that enough feedback is available to motivate and energize the individual to continue working with it. I attest to that. That's a fact. Indeed, the speed with which an individual may expect to progress seems less a function of the number of hours spent practicing than it is a question of the speed with which he or she is able to use the insights gained to release anxieties and stresses within both the mind and the body. These points of energy blockage seem to provide the principal barriers to achieving the enhanced energy states and focus of mind needed for rapid progression. The more compulsive, the more uptight, and the individual may be at the outset, the more barriers he or she will initially encounter to achieving a deep or immediate experience. But as the insights begin to come and the blockages begin to dissolve, the way ahead becomes increasingly clear, and the value of gateway moves from the status of a matter of intellectual assessment to one of personal experience. Conclusion. There is a sound rational basis in terms of physical science parameters for considering gateway to be plausible in terms of its essential objectives. Intuitional insights of not only personal but of a practical and professional nature would seem to be within bounds of reasonable expectations. However, a phased approach for entering the gateway experience in an accelerated mode would seem to be required if the time needed to reach advanced states of altered consciousness is to be brought within more manageable limits from the standpoint of establishing an organization-wide exploitation of gateway's potential. The most promising approach suggested in the foregoing study involves the following steps. Okay, use hemisync tapes to achieve enhanced brain focus and to induce hemisphere synchronization. Add strong REM sleep frequencies to induce left brain and deep physical relaxation. Provide hypnotic suggestion designed to enable an individual to induce deep auto-hypnotic state at will, use auto-hypnotic suggestion to attain much enhanced focus of concentration and motivation, and rapidly progressing through Focus 12 exercises. Then you repeat steps A and B, following the use of auto-hypnotic suggestion that an out-of-body movement will occur and be remembered. Repeat E to achieve facility in gaining out-of-body state under conscious control. Alter hypnotic suggestion to stress ability to consciously control out-of-body movement and maintain it even after REM sleep state ends. And then G would be approach Focus 15 and 21 objectives. Escape from time, space, and interact within new dimensions from out-of-body perspective. Then you have H, use multifocus, the terrestrial, encourage, blah, blah, blah. Okay. So that's pretty much it for that. Let's see these comments. This really makes a lot of sense, and this shit helps me understand the movie The Matrix so much more. I feel like I had a pretty good understanding of it, but this shit puts a lot of shit into context, because now we could distinguish, you know, this finite time that we live in, right? And then, you know, like the infinite aspect of the universe. That makes a lot of fucking sense. Wow, that, like, I wish I knew this since I was a kid. Shit is crazy. What y'all think about that though? You like that? I know y'all like that. And I give kudos to everybody who's here right now and actually listen to this, because, you know, this is not one of those segments that has Nipsey's name in the title or something, you know, like something that's directly related to his investigation. However, this shit is so important because this is the shit that Nipsey literally mastered, if you ask me, or something that he truly knew. He knew everything that I just read to y'all. He knew this shit. I'm telling y'all. Because when I listen to Mailbox Money, I promise y'all, when I listen to Mailbox Money, I couldn't help but think, like, Nipsey really, like, he mastered this shit. You know what I'm saying? He on, like, Focus 15, Focus 21, whatever the fuck it is. What y'all think, though? I want to hear y'all thoughts. If anybody wants to hop up too on StreamYards, let me know. I'll put the link down below. You know, now that we just got through that document, I don't have a set agenda. I was going to, you know, run some more laps on things related to the Gateway experience. However, we have the right people in here right now. So if anybody wants to talk or anything, that probably will go, that'd be a lot more productive than just running laps. Yeah, this shit is just wild. There's footage of a few chosen prophets back in the late 1800s to 1970s and emerging that were paving the way for us. Huh. Miss Steph, what you on right now? Tyree, what you on to? This would be a good convo. If we had Miss Steph, Tyree up here, and that, oh, it's game over. But man, I'll take what I can get. I'm telling y'all though, I want to talk about this shit because I could run laps here and whatnot, but I think discussion is much better. I'm thinking like a million different things right now. I'm not even gonna lie. I get really excited after I read this shit every time. I get really excited. I do. I'm not even going front. I get excited because it's like the affirmation that, you know, I can speak for everybody in this room right now. It's the affirmation that people like us need. Not that we are seeking that affirmation, but affirmation always helps, especially when the type of thoughts that we have, the type of intellect that we have is, you know, we are outliers. We're not amongst the common people, you know. And I'm not saying that in like an elitist way. No, not at all. I'm just saying what it is. And you feel me? Yeah, I know you do, Miss Steph. That's why I'm so happy you just popped up for this guy. I dead ass was thinking about you this morning before I did this. I really was. I'm like, damn, sis would love this because this is the shit she's been kicking to me for the longest time. What you want though, Miss Steph? You got a minute to talk? It'd be nice to have you and Tyree up here. By the way, let me go back to this document right quick so y'all could see what it is. You just got to Google Gateway Experience CIA, and that's it. It'll come up. But this is it right here. Shit is crazy. Crazy. Shit crazy. Let me ask y'all this. Does anybody feel like overwhelmed by the Gateway experience? Like, is it overwhelming because, you know, you have some sort of inherent fear that things aren't the way that, you know, you're comfortable with or you've been taught to know? I mean, my impression is most of y'all aren't like that, but the vast majority of people, they wouldn't like to read a document like this, in my opinion. You know what I'm saying? They wouldn't like it because shit would leave them with so many like uncertainties and questions, things that intuitively their mind been trying to tell them that something's funny about it, but they keep trying to put their intuition aside in favor of conventional knowledge, so to say, or what the next man is doing. That's how I feel. How y'all feel? Talk to you, boy. Here, let's do this. I'm gonna do this right now. All right, StreamYards. Stream. If anybody wants to join your boy for a quick discussion, I'd be more than happy to have you up here. If not, then within the next 3 minutes, we'll get going on to the next segment. We'll run more laps. And oh, thank you, Nat. I appreciate you. Anytime. Thank you, Ms. Steph. I appreciate you very much. Yeah. If anybody has like any, just treat me like a DJ right now. If you got a recommendation for content or something you want to look at in particular, let me know. Because I'm gonna be freestyling it after this. Yo, Miss Steph, we really got to chop it up. You, me, and Tyree and Nat. I want to intro you to Tyree, though. No worries, sis. No worries. We'll definitely hop on that call soon, though. Like, real shit. What should we look at right now, though? Like, after looking at the Gateway experience, shit, there's so many things I could fucking get into right now. And I want y'all to know, like, this Gateway experience thing, you know, it's like they said, it's for self-realization and self-growth. To the point where I think a lot of these like organizations or, you know, secret societies, as we call them, right? I think a lot of them implement these tactics. You know, I think they implement these tactics, like Masons and shit. I think so. Not all of them, obviously, but I think a lot of them do. Now, let me tell y'all, me personally, I started in the beginning of July. That's when I started my transformation or my growth, you know what I'm saying? In this sense. And you know, I started going directly. I took the schedule, or I took the instructions that we just saw at the end of the report, and I tailored it to myself. But I was heavy on the binaural beats, and I still am to this day. However, when I tell y'all, like, the way that shit happened in a matter of 2 weeks, the type of revelations that I had, the type of like insight and intuition and the answers that I had to certain situations and traumas that I didn't even expect to ever have a full answer to. I'm being serious with y'all. Like, this shit was crazy. I was out of my body. It's like I had to fucking try my hardest to get myself all the way back within my body, if you get what I'm saying. You feel me? Like, I really felt like I didn't like feel it so much at the time, but after I came back in my body, like 2 weeks after, I'm like, damn, yo, like I really was like out of my body. I wasn't all the way back in this whole time. Real shit. It really was like that. It was the craziest time, like real shit. I'm never gonna forget that time in my life because that shit, I think it saved me, to be honest with you. That shit real life saved me. Shit real life saved me. All right, what y'all want to look at? What should we peek? Should we do anything right now? Tyree, where you at? What you on, big bro? Yo,
What up, bro?
what's good, big bro?
Oh, okay. So, all is well, bro. I caught the tail end. I caught the tail end of the.
What's good, big bro? Oh, okay.
Oh shit, hold on, my fault. I got
All is well, bro.
I'm sorry, what was that, Tyree? I had the shit playing in the background. It was a little delayed.
No, it's good. That shit. I caught the tail end of the live, bro. But
Yeah,
I
hell yeah.
definitely got knowledge of the gateway though.
Yeah, you definitely know, and you're in gate, so man, what's understood don't got to be spoken on. But
Right.
you know what's crazy is I'm glad that you came when you came because there was like an analogy they made with the father and the son, and you know, you constantly put me on game. You actually not just game as to the father and the son directly, but more so of like the analogies within life, within this earth. You feel me? Within this universe that are akin to the father and the son, just
Right.
like made it in that document. You know, I knew you felt that when you saw or heard that. But yeah, bro, I know this shit comes very second nature to you. Like it's almost like shit that you already knew, but it's just putting it in like
In retrospective, bro.
yeah.
Definitely, bro. And this is deep though, bro. Especially with the hologram.
Hell yeah.
It's a lot, bro. I was tripping on what's the lady name in the chat? She going in.
Yeah, bro, she Anunnaki or some shit, bro. Like
Oh yeah, I definitely need to get in her world then.
yo, she was telling me in Blackson like shit like this, like before we even really knew like that. You feel me? Like
Right.
before we even like I'm telling you, bro, to the point where it was like even at the time she used to tell us certain thing. At least I can only speak for myself, but I wouldn't disagree with her, but I just wouldn't be able to fully understand at that time. You feel me?
Yeah.
And now keep it open. And ever since like this shit came full circle, I'm like, damn, I can't wait to tell Miss Death. But yeah, she different, bro.
Yeah, definitely.
You know what's crazy is she the one. Miss Depp is the one who was really like talking about Elon and that light rail and all that other shit before anybody was speaking on that. Like literally, bro, she was talking about this shit at a time when people were getting offended by her saying shit like that. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Like, yeah. So, yup, that's Miss Depp for you.
Oh man, I definitely praising Constitution for it, man, because she's deep as shit, bro. She just had me remembering some stuff, bro. And it's crazy you was talking about the whole memory thing, bro. You know, that's one of the things I learned just from like studying more science. Like one of your objectives is to remember who you are in this time frame.
Right.
And she said something key, and she was like, the life is in the blood, and the spirit is in the blood, and that's definitely that. That's how we're able to tune certain things because we've been connected to so many ancestors that we can actually tune them in if we do it right.
Yo, dead ass, bro. Dead ass, bro. That's crazy. You just said that. Didn't we have when we spoke that day, Tyree? Didn't we say some shit like that?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, it's some shit like that, bro. Man, that's crazy.
And she spoke on the whole duality thing, man. That concept. That's why I believe that the Judeo-Christian society is failing in itself because it don't speak on that. It gives you all allegory for as in the story, but it doesn't go behind the allegory.
Right.
You
Right.
know, and if you can't understand that, then you go always be somewhat lost. But you're also gonna have that feeling of I need something. There's something missing. But a lot of people,
I
a lot of
feel
people
that.
won't.
Feel that.
A lot of people won't even speak on what they feel like they're missing, but they'll just keep going, trying to hopefully. It's like an addiction almost.
Yeah, man. Type shit. Most definitely. Most definitely. Man, that shit is crazy because you know what I was also thinking this, bro. Motherfucker. Oh man, it's on the tip of my tongue. It'll come back to me. It'll come back to me.
Oh, don't sweat it. Definitely there.
Yeah, it'll come back. But yeah, man, shit crazy. Bro, fuck, what was it that I was gonna say? It's gonna come back. It's gonna come back. But yeah, I know you be knowing, big bro. Like this shit is like,
It. The one of the purpose of us understanding our astrology, bro, is because those are gateways. You dig what I'm saying?
hell yeah, they are. Yes.
It's 12 gateways of spiritual consciousness from the out and from the in because they line up with what's inside of us too.
Right. Most definitely.
I'm listening to the explanation of the gateway, far as and they saying it's better than or it's a faster result than meditation and stuff like that. And that's what struck me because I read this book called what was it called? Dark Light Consciousness, bro.
Mm.
It was comparing the consciousness on a whole nother level, as far as in our subconscious is antimatter and our melon. You dig what I'm saying? Our melon activates that subconscious, bro. The main part of that book was about meditation, bro, because that's what you're doing when you're meditating. You're lining yourself up with nature. You dig what I'm saying? With the energies and the polarities in nature, bro. And that helps you open yourself up. Now you become that ground wire to the source.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, most definitely. I feel that. It's like priming yourself. You know what I mean? It's like aligning, really just tuning yourself with nature or with the universe. The electromagnetic fields that we can't see or we can't sense with our five senses, but with our third eye, we most definitely can.
But look, I'm gonna tell you something about that third eye too, bro. You have to learn to activate all your chakras, bro. Because if you learn just to activate your third eye, you will burn that out.
Right.
That's why people be having hit and miss with their psychedelic experiences. You dig what I'm saying? But then they be chasing it because they don't know how to line up. Once you learn how to line them bottom chakras up to that third eye, then you don't have to worry about burning it out.
Interesting. That's very interesting. That's a good point. Yeah, that's a very solid point. Oh, I remember what I was going to say before. So it's like it's like this, right? Like you were saying about the Judeo-Christians and shit. Here's what I see, right? I mentioned this too. Like I paused it for a second. I don't know if you were here for this, but I said something to the effect of like, even me when I was younger, I used to struggle with the concept of religion and whatnot, right? Because it's like I see all these folks going to church, but these people are fucking demons. You know what I'm saying? How that shit makes sense. Trying to like figure this shit out. Why are these people that work with the church or for the church some of the most wicked people I ever met? Doing shit I would never even think to do. So it's kind of like it's the Hegelian dialectic in a way where it's like a thesis and an antithesis. So with religion, as opposed to finding the discrepancies in what an individual is doing, we're more prone to like classifying a whole group of people as such. You know what I mean? Or like that's just how humans are. But as opposed to that, it probably would be more. It's sound logic to be able to differentiate and see what that individual might. That individual in himself might be fucked up or whatever it may be, but can't generalize the rest. And I say that because it's similar to the gateway in the sense that, put it like this, when I was a kid, one of the biggest struggles I had was like, the whole idea that religion and science are not reconcilable. You feel me?
Right.
Which is what they teach in school. That's the only conclusion you could really come to. However, that's only based on this time space, dimension that we're in this physical realm that we're in. However, the way that they explained it in the Gateway Experience, which is a fucking document from 1983, I'm having a hard time. Like, I was born after that. So how is it that none of these teachers I ever had could explain it like even half as good as that? You feel me? When this
I'm gonna tell you why, bro. That was the whole point of the separation of state and church and that whole ideology that took forth afterwards, bro. I'm gonna tell you something. Reason why you have the Illuminati, bro, and that's why it seems so far-fetched to people like that, because while learning more in science, it said that when you separate spirituality and science, that's where you get that light. It's like a spark. It's like pulling a spark apart. You dig what I'm saying? And that's part of that mind control we were talking about, as far as in these states and these state of minds that they use for control. You dig what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You keep it separate so you don't see. If you understand the whole process in its fullness, bro, then you're awakening a whole nother monster that they're trying to keep asleep.
Right.
You dig what I'm saying? So we keep it asleep by separate. It's that whole divide and conquer thing again. You dig what I'm saying? But on a whole nother level. So we're gonna divide. We're gonna make it seem like science is at spirituality's head and vice versa. But if you do your research, one of the biggest supporters of like NASA is the Vatican, bro.
Of course.
If you actually look up the definition of Catholic, it's in reference to a celestial body. You dig what I'm saying? And these are secrets that they keep from us. You dig what I'm saying? Because it awakens who we really are.
Yeah, absolutely, bro. Yeah, 100%. And bro, like, I've realized the biggest thing, that those are great points. The biggest thing from like from like Big Brother, so to say, right, or everybody that's in cahoots at the top. What I come to realize is, bro, think about it like this: if we knew the truth, if I'm saying we as in like society as a whole, right, or the majority of society, the majority of society was able to make that distinction between the physical realm and the infinite realm, so to say, right, the absolute realm as they call it.
Right.
As simple as they made it in that document, then bro, people aren't going to move out of fear anymore. You know what I'm saying? Which would be disadvantageous to the government or any other like top corporate entities or interests. You know what I'm saying? Because if they're not fearing anything, then they're not going to try to avoid sin, or they're not going to try to avoid temptation, or the biggest threat I think would be they're not going to try to pursue or they are going to try to pursue their personal interests freely. You know what I'm saying? Without the fear of oh, I might get shot like one of these rappers at their store or some shit. You feel what I'm saying?
Right.
Type shit. So I think that's what it is. That's the biggest threat, because it's one thing for people to know, but the application of the knowledge is really what it is, because yeah.
And that goes because and it's harder now, but at the same time it's also kind of easier. It's like a double fold thing, because it's harder in the sense that because in society we've been drowned with all this bullshit for so long. You get what I'm saying? That's why the awakening takes so much toll on the spiritual body. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, 100%.
You gotta carve through all the bullshit. You get what I'm saying? So it's like,
did you see what it said in the report? It said towards the end, it says some shit to the effect of like, depending on the individual, what they're going through, like at the time they start, implementing the practices, right, to increase their consciousness. It says that like if you're dealing with more at that time, right, you got a lot more weight on your shoulders, then you're gonna go through a more like difficult priming phase. Like in the beginning, like we talked about this before, and this is just the fact of life. You know what I'm saying? Before the good always comes the storm. You feel me? Or always the bad. Like it's just relative. That's the duality of life. So similar to that, yeah, they said in the report too that depending on the individual and where they currently are, in their headspace and whatever they're dealing with, that'll definitely, have an effect on the transition into implementing those practices. So, you know, just,
Yeah, I get that. I get that deeply because with this walk, especially within spirituality, you have to. It takes peace to understand certain things, bro. You know, when we're not in peace, we're in chaos, bro. So that means we're all over the place. We're not
very
not,
true, man.
not
Yeah.
tuned into one spot where we need to be. So that causes
Mm,
a fragmentation in the sense that you got all these distractions. Like you trying to get to this level, but you also have to get past these distractions. That's why they keep. Let's look at how they do our people, bro. Look at how
yeah,
look what the rich do. You dig what I'm saying? They don't go to work like that. They out doing Pilates. They out in the parks, hanging out, enjoying nature, absorbing
he said Pilates.
for real, bro.
That ass though.
They out there doing stuff. You dig what I'm saying to help keep a sense of peace. But we stuck in a rat race. So not only we trying to make ends meet, we worried about the little ends we get. Somebody trying to take that from us.
Right.
Worrying about family situations, all that type of stuff. So
All sorts of
it's
shit.
it's, it's hard to concentrate when you don't have no peace.
Man, I fucking just got goosebumps from you saying that, bro. And that's some real shit, dog. That's some real shit.
But see, the tailspin of that is, bro, we are like what sister was talking about, we so deeply enriched in our ancestral roots. If we just take the time just to remember, you know, we question ourselves. That's the biggest person that questions us is ourselves. You dig what I'm saying? So sometimes we feel certain stuff, and the first thing we do is we question it, and that's that real battle of God and the devil. You dig what I'm saying? That lies within us. You dig what I'm saying? We're the worst devil to ourselves. We destruct ourselves. You know, I was taught that there's a crown, there's a throne that sits on your third eye, bro, and you have to crush that throne of Satan for God to sit there, so that way you can truly understand and enjoy and
Yeah.
what life really is.
Deep shit, bro. You said crush the crown?
You got to crush the. I didn't mean crown. You got to crush the throne because he sits on the throne on your third eye, bro. You dig
Right.
what I'm saying? You have to crush that. You have to crush that throne so your higher power could truly sit there. You dig what I'm saying?
Yeah,
And
man. Some real
and
shit.
that honestly is destroying your conscious and digging into your subconscious. Your conscious is in the way of your subconscious.
That's a fact. That's a whole fact. That's a whole fucking fact. We touched base on that before. You know what I'm saying? In some part. But yeah, 100%, bro.
Definitely, bro. So and the part of the hardest part about it with us is that we are at ends with each other amongst everything else, bro. You dig what I'm saying?
Yeah, man.
And that goes against our whole makeup to begin with. You dig what I'm saying? The whole
Fact.
us funking amongst ourselves.
The whole
That's
answer,
the
bro.
weight on it.
The
So
whole
we're not
answer.
we're not even supposed to be like that.
Yeah, that's a fact, bro. And that shit is wicked too, because it's like, bro, like you just said, it's a gang of circumstances, right, and adversities that we face, right, that ordinary people that come up from like I don't want to call it good or bad. I want to call it like just more I guess like established backgrounds, right, whatever you want to call it.
Right.
Like that type of shit, man. That shit has me fucked up, because think about this, bro. It's like they don't even, you know what I'm saying? They don't even know what it's like to walk in the shoes, bro. They don't even know what it's like to walk in those shoes. And on top of that, right? On top of that, not only are they not dealing with those issues, but they're not dealing with issues of their people killing each other, right? Or
Right.
having to deal with like that kind of violence or fear for yourself or for your loved ones. Bro, that shit is nasty. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
That shit is nasty. All right, there's something else I was gonna say. I'm thinking like 100 things right now. Fucking, what were you saying, though, Tyree? You were making a point.
No, you right about that, bro. That was the point I'm really making, bro. It's the war. It's the battles within the war. You dig what I'm saying? You know,
Yeah,
we catch ourselves in these battles, and sometimes we think these battles are wars that we lost. And they're just battles. You dig what I'm saying?
right.
And we have to get past some battles. But that goes back to the whole, we really need each other. You dig what I'm saying? Because we're a cosmic unit. And that goes back to that whole Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost, or the Trinity, or however you want to call it, bro, because you have to be operating in unison, the first stage is sonship. So when sonship is, you got to sit down and learn. It's like, it's asking questions and denying what you think you know to understand what you really need to know.
Yo, true. That's a whole fact, man. Real shit like that. It's got to be a communal thing, bro. It's got to be like, and you know, it's like it's like a computer, right?
Right.
We don't need 1,000 fucking hard drives. You feel me? Like it's different roles, it's different places, different spots.
Right.
And instead of knocking on the next brother for not being, you know, a certain type of way, for not being a real one or whatever you want to call it, right? Based on a measure that includes violence or whatever the fuck else is in there in the mix, right?
Right.
Gotta embrace brothers for who they are, bro, because everybody's got to play their unique role that they're here for their purpose.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? As opposed to trying to get them to conform to a fucking image of something that you hate, that an individual hates themselves for to begin with. You feel me? That's some deep shit, bro.
Right.
Like, I'm not, and that's not me getting at gangbangers as a whole or anything. No, it's just, you know, like out of people that live that life, I know several dozen people that, you know, really self-loathing, but it's like they gonna project by trying to make others feel less than for not being more like them, which is the weirdest. Right. You know what I'm saying?
Right. You know, and that's what's in far as the hood concept, that's what's damaging it. That's why it ain't how it used to be. You dig what I'm saying?
Right.
You know, I watched the older homies and I heard the stories about they older homies. You dig what I'm saying? It was about, you know, if somebody was lacking, it was about pulling them up. You dig what I'm saying? Nowadays, it's like if somebody's lacking, that's what we're about to talk about because they lacking. You dig what I'm saying?
You don't try to kick you down while you, yeah, that's a fact.
You know, and that's that whole chupacabra shit. You dig what I'm saying?
Right.
I'm gonna kick you while you down and eat at you. You dig what I'm saying?
Shit, wicked, man.
You know, and that's just the what is it? The vultures eating at the vultures, bro.
Yeah, that's really what it is, man. This shit is a nasty game. This shit is by design too, which is the most fucked up part.
You know, you said a big part, bro, about the war that we face, bro, and it's a mental war. They figured like you said, bro. That's what the book Behold the Pale White Horse went in depth about. You know, the silent war. That's what World War III was gonna be. It wasn't gonna be a physical war. It's gonna be a mental war.
That's right.
We're gonna break down people psychologically, bro, because that's the best way to break a person down. We ain't gotta put no hands on them. We're gonna break you down mentally, and then you'll do whatever we ask you to do.
Exactly. Mentally, emotionally, spiritually. I mean, shit, we might really be in the midst of what one would call a war, but not in the conventional sense. You feel me? But very much in like a spiritual, you know, in a way that we can see, bro.
It's actually both, bro, because they it to the point now they kicked this 80. It's funny because he said 83 because that's a cold year in itself, bro. But yeah, that's when a lot of this shit really got put it in the full parameter. You dig what I'm saying? So yeah, it actually isn't, but at the same time it is because once you break these certain cats down mentally, they're doing whatever you're doing your will. So sometimes the will of them is just they have a voice, bro. And see, look, all right. Give me a second to explain this, bro. But it was something that Sis said earlier in the convo that made a lot of sense, bro. And it has to do with this whole gateway stuff too, bro. It's the word, you know. And now we take it back to the reference of the Bible sense. It said God was a word and the word was a light. You dig what I'm saying?
Right.
So it goes back to that definition of light, and that goes to that magnetic energy. That's why these frequencies fuck us up so badly, bro, because they go against this magnetic energy. Or a lot of this electricity that they use for this stuff is the reverse polarity of it. So it's slowing us down.
Yep. And it's all by design. And
you know, it's all by design.
Yeah, and the wicked part about that shit too, big bro, I ain't even gonna lie, is it's even more than just like it's more than like the inverse of it. It's think about it. They are literally shifting and changing the divine, natural, indigenous, whatever you want to call it, electrostatic fields within the earth, right? Which is going to have an effect on the electromagnetic fields, right? Within us as people, which is going to make it that much more difficult for one to align themselves with you know, the absolute. You feel me? Like the universe hologram. And I think, you know, like how we were talking about, you know, 3, 6, and 9 being the keys to the universe, and just, bro, I think that's, you know, the way that they explained it in this report about the absolute and there being like a universal hologram, I think that's exactly what the universal hologram. You know what I'm saying? I think those 3, 6, and 9 numbers are extremely important to that. Not that it's any more important to that as opposed to other algorithms, but that's just like the universal algorithm. You know what I mean? That wasn't man-made to the extent where it's like, you know, man said, oh, we're going to make these specific numbers like be significant. No, they all have significance based on what? Ancient teachings, right? And knowledge based on what? The earth and the universe.
Right. Well, look, I'm gonna tell you something that's fascinating to me that's been going on for the last probably like 6 months, like really heavy, bro. You know, I heard this African chick break down the word in the sense like, you know, the father and the son, you know, and when you read the word, there's some places in the word that when it refers to son, it refers to the other son, like the sun in the sky. You dig what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly.
But in these last since this pandemic is happening, bro, the craziest thing that's been happening is that they keep quiet or they like they'll put it out on the internet, but you know, it won't be no real like media talking about that shit. It's the solar flares that we've been having. We've been having like extreme solar flares, and they've been more magnetic than ever in history. You dig what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, for sure, bro.
Because this is energy. But see, there are 3 types of energies on this planet, bro. You have electric energy, you have magnetic energy, then you have organic energy. You dig what I'm saying? Or argon energy.
Right.
And they really can't explain argon energy because it's so deep and it's so vast. But I was watching this. I watch African Consciousness. It's a little YouTube. You dig what I'm saying? He explains it. He was like, bro, in the last 2 years, or no, the last 5 years, people have been hearing noises in the pyramids. You dig what I'm saying? Like frequencies, like feeling frequencies. You dig what I'm saying?
Yep.
That's why we've been having these abnormal solar and lunar eclipses. You dig what I'm saying? That's why we're having so much going on far as the sun shooting out these gamma rays. You dig what I'm saying?
Right.
That's one of the main reasons why they've been putting this certain shit up in the atmosphere. You dig what I'm saying? Like to cause this fog and this rain and stuff, because that calcium absorbs what the energy shoots, the vitamin D that the energy shoots off. You dig what I'm saying? It's a great time to be right now that they're trying to take from us. But at the end of the day, it's gonna be a slow process. But as long as we have people like us that are willing to step out of ordinary guidelines, willing to, and you know, it's that whole each one teach one. I love everybody in these rooms, bro, because everybody has some knowledge to give, and everybody's in this room trying to gain some knowledge also.
Hell
And
yeah.
it's a slow process, bro. But these folks that can't absorb this type of energy are gonna see the backlash in it. It ain't no coincidence we're having all these different variants and all that shit. But it ain't nothing to really worry about, bro. You know, some people's days are already been numbered, regardless of what the facts was. So you have to understand that, and you have to accept that. Even my days have already been numbered, whatever the number is. You dig what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's a process. But one thing we hate in life is not really death isn't an enemy. You dig what I'm saying? But what we fear is how we die. You dig what I'm saying?
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
and death is an actual blessing, and you know it releases us from the tension of this whole plane to begin with. You dig what I'm saying? But everybody has a purpose within this plane, and if everybody meets their purpose, then things get done. Because honestly, you know, it's because now we have so much media. They have so many tools to pump fear into us, bro. But if we really look into our past and look now, bro, they've been trying to get rid of us for a long time, bro.
No
And it has worked, you know.
Yeah.
And the coldest thing they figured out was, well, shit, we got to get them to kill each other because we can't do it.
That's a fact, bro. And look what's going on now, man. It's like they don't even got to lift a finger many times. When it comes to the hood, you feel me? Like they don't even got to lift a finger. They know what's about to happen.
Right.
9 out of 10 times, if not 9.9 out of 10 times.
Right. You know, and honestly, this is my opinion. I think the easiest way to solve a lot of this hood shit is if brothers learn how to share. You dig what I'm saying?
Hell yeah, bro.
It ain't even got to be being cool. We ain't got to be homies. None of that shit. It's just learning how to share.
Well, what does share come from though? Share got to come from some compassion or like empathy or just
Just love, period.
yeah,
Just love,
yeah,
period.
that's love, bro.
You
But
get what I'm saying?
hard
Because
to teach that when the vast majority don't come from that. You feel me?
right.
Real shit.
But all it takes is one person out of the ordinary to show them that. You dig what I'm saying?
You would think. What did Nipsey do in that show for? Well, I mean, I'm not gonna put it like that. Because he showed, you know, Nipsey showed them everything, right? His folks, right?
Right.
His peoples. But aside from the business, what like what are they doing that's like that catches your attention in the sense that it's like an embodiment of Nip? Not much, right?
Right.
Exactly. So if Nip couldn't do it, that's what I'm trying to get at. Not to be like
But
pessimistic.
but see, you got to understand too, though. Nip served his purpose,
Oh,
regardless of how
without a doubt. Yeah.
regardless of how we feel about the situation, all that, his time and his numbers added up, and
Hell yeah.
he fulfilled a great purpose in a sense. You dig what I'm saying?
Right.
Everybody's not supposed to get that. Just like if you really read the word and you understand what. See, one thing I learned about it's easier to break the word down when you first start paying attention to when Christ speaks and what he's speaking about. And one of the things he said was, I'm gonna give it to my folks, certain folks plain because they understand it. But the rest of these folks, I'm gonna give it to them in enigmas because it's gonna fall on rocky soil anyway.
Oh yeah.
So
Yeah.
and one of these things too, we have to understand that when Nip said everybody can't go, nigga, that's serious. And that don't mean just as far as homies that ain't following instructions. There's gonna be people in your family, friends, and all that ain't gonna be able to go.
Hell yeah. And a lot of them not gonna be happy about that. They didn't like hearing that.
You dig what I'm saying? But
Yeah.
that's real life. That's real life. That's real life facts. You dig what I'm saying?
Hell
And
yeah.
anybody behind that situation is gonna feel it later on in life, like heavily. They ain't gonna be able to sleep, all type of shit, bro.
Right.
It's gonna be they def is gonna be way worse than the nigga gunning them down or anything like that, bro. Because
Yep.
they're gonna have to suffer for a long ass time through that shit. Because you can't stop the Great Awakening, bro. Yeah, it could be slowed down, it could be altered in certain spots, but you
It can.
can't stop what destiny has set for everything. You dig what I'm saying?
That's right. And I feel like, just like we said before, the analogy that applied to that situation applies to this as well. The storm is always going to come before the sunshine. You feel me?
Right.
And metaphorically, right now, that's what we're going through. I feel like, or we were going through it. We were going through it, especially in the beginning of the pandemic and whatnot. But I definitely see a turn, man. I see a shift. I've seen a lot more people waking up, which is a great thing, you know.
Right.
Always a good thing. And yeah, you're absolutely right, bro. And I appreciate the fact that you're so optimistic about it too, bro. But you're optimistic because you're going by the manuscript as well. You feel me? Like what the word says, what the scripture says, and you know what the Quran says as well. So you piece these two together with your knowledge, and I'm sure your optimism is for good cause too, good reason.
And it's honestly beyond that, bro. Them tools are all set up to help you remember who you truly are, bro. And I took them lessons as I was having these inklings about who I was, as far as me personally, bro. And it was just a confirmation about a lot of things, bro.
Yeah, man.
I know as a person myself, I gotta quit being so quiet about certain things, bro. Because at the end of the day, I know what these words do. You dig what I'm saying? There's power, and they invoke things. You dig what I'm saying? So it's like I've always had that inkling, to want to help other folks, bro. No shit. At the end of the day, I be wanting so much, but I can scratch all that shit if I can see somebody else, get back on their feet type shit.
Yeah,
Or
I'm
get,
the way, man.
or get past this. In these cases, I understand why, the old church folks stay so optimistic because it's an energy in itself, bro. When you be like, man, fuck it, ain't shit gonna work, then nothing's gonna really work, bro. That's
Right.
giving up. That's giving up. And when you give up, you let all these other entities swallow you whole.
Yeah, that's right. And you kind of you already you're setting the tone by counting yourself out already going into it, right? and like boxing yourself in. You know, like how they were talking about boxing in with your thoughts in the gateway experience. It's the same type of shit. You know what I mean? That's it's a frequency. That's what it comes down to. So the level that your body's at, right? Based on like how you feel about yourself, right? How you feel. And you know, I think I told you this, but I heard Jim Carrey say a really good definition of what he thought depression is. And I agree with it. He said depression is when someone's spirit is like tired and you know, sick of being in their physical body. You know what I'm saying? And that's some real shit, bro. So yeah.
Look, I'm gonna show you how things come full circle, bro. I was reading. I got like, you know, I've been told you ever since you really like told me like, man, go get into the anarchy code, bro. So I've been on it tough, bro. So I got to reading that, and I got to reading the Ramadan and stuff, bro. And it's funny, bro, because Friday I didn't really get a chance to talk to you like that, bro. And it was bringing up the gateway, and I was like, you know what? I need to go do some research on the gateway. And look what happens. You brought the research. You brought the research to me.
Look at that.
You did what I said? So I see them little things like that, bro. Lets me know that we're on a path to where we need to be. You dig what I'm saying? Because that's how Deja Vu was explained to me, bro. Deja Vu was explained that when you catch deja vu, that means life is on the path that it needs to be on. You dig what I'm saying?
I like that. I like that. Because I've been telling myself deja vu might be a glitch in the Matrix based on the movie.
Well, I mean, look, that's what the glitch is, though. The glitch is like, like you're going through. It's like you're going through it, and then you get this glitch, and it's like, okay, I'm in the right place. You dig what I'm saying? Because some's taking you back to show you that you've seen this shit in the future already. You dig what I'm saying? So now that's where a time where that's when. What is it? The hardest thing to do is to be in the present, bro. That's the hardest thing to do, especially the way they have us set up with all this stuff. It's hard for us to be in the present. You dig what I'm saying? Not the past, not the future, but in the moment right now. That is a hard thing to do, bro. And when you start learning how to do that, you start seeing other things.
Yeah, you start seeing other things. You start really living each day with gratitude and a different type of energy. And on top of all that, bro, you start really man, what the fuck? I can't believe I keep forgetting what I want to say. This is what happens when you don't sleep too much.
You gotta rest, bro.
Yeah, no, I'm not even tired type shit, but I'm just slow today because I slept like 2 hours type shit.
Hey, look, bro. I learned this back in like 2007, bro, when I was on house arrest, bro. My grandfather had some crazy books, bro. And it was like this one book was about a gang of little things that we need to know and we don't know about. And one of the things it said was about rest. You know that if you just sit still and close your eyes, not even going to sleep, that's like 70% of the energy of getting back just like you were sleeping. You dig what I'm saying?
Really?
Sometimes you got to be still. That's why the word even says that. It's just you don't have to be asleep to charge up. You just got to be still and you got to rest your thoughts.
Right, meditation. Yeah.
Right.
Yep. Huh. So how long you got to sit still for? Is there like a minimum amount of time, or
your body? If once you sit still, your body will tell you how long you need to sit still. You dig what I'm saying?
That's true. Yeah, good point. Very good point. Yeah, that's some real shit. But where did we leave off with talking about the Matrix, talking about the glitch, deja vu?
Yep.
Oh yeah. So I was thinking like I guess it depends on what the deja vu was, just like in the Matrix. You know what I'm saying? That's why they had to freeze and ask all them questions like, oh, you saw a black cat? Like, where was it? You know, what did it look like? Da da da. Right? They were asking all these questions and shit because think about it. If the deja vu reflects a situation, it could be, you know, a multitude of things, not just like two things. It could be, you know, you have deja vu because it's a negative experience, right?
Right.
It could be a positive experience, or it could be an experience that was close to neutral, but like let's say you made the wrong decision and the same, like you see the same sign, right? Like physical, tangible, like sign or circumstance, like unfolding in front of your own too.
Right.
No, like that shit, in that kind of situation, I don't even know what I'd do. You got to go based off feeling. But it's like if you have a fork in the road and you went the wrong way before, right? And
Right.
it had a particular consequence, and that same situation poses itself. Like which way would one go?
Right. And see, look, this digs a little deeper in the sense, bro, because from what I catch it from the Anunnaki code, you dig what I'm saying? Now, if we share the same blood as these cats, right, then we have ability to do these things, bro. It's just we don't tap into our conduct like we supposed to.
You know why?
Yeah, because of the distractions and the mixture of the bullshit they've given us.
Right. Right. And the knowledge being wiped off. Most importantly, you know what I'm saying? Like how would one even like think about it, right? It's each one teach one in this life.
Right.
We are an embodiment and a reflection of our parent or parents. You feel me? So, well, our parents obviously, but particularly like who we're raised by, or you know what I'm saying? Who were around the most as a child. So it's the same that's applicable to anything. It's like I can't expect the current generations or even the younger generations after to take the initiative to do something when like they don't even know that exists. You know what I'm saying? Because like they're not being put on and their parents aren't being put on, and so forth, because the knowledge has been wiped, so to say. Well, not wiped, but you know what I'm saying. It's not taught. It's not public like that anymore. You there, big bro?
Yeah, my bad. I'm over here trying to figure this shit out. Hold on, real quick.
All right, see you. I got the Anunnaki code up here. If anybody wants to read the Anunnaki code, or actually rather listen, Blackson got all of them up on his channel. He's on chapter by. He's got them all narrated, so whoever wants to check that out, go peep that. 2022 is right around the corner, and it should be a very interesting year. I'm just gonna leave it at that.
Yeah, it is definitely gonna be an interesting year, bro.
Yeah, man. I think our OGs might be coming back.
Right.
Shit.
You know, the old school saying is you got to destroy to rebuild, bro.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. I want to say too, big bro, when you were saying before, like people hearing like certain noises from inside the pyramids or like certain energy, right? Those pyramids, like I love like doing my homework on this or learning about it or discussing this with somebody else, right? Because those pyramids, like it's a lot of different thoughts on what was being done over there, right? It's not
Right.
there was only one purpose. There was obviously like a lot of purposes, but I personally think, bro, that those pyramids were used for energy. You know what I'm saying? To source energy, and to also provide offerings or whatever you want to call it to the Most High. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Top of the pyramid, but it was like a source of energy and I say that because these pyramids been around like forever, obviously, right?
Right.
Way before when electricity was around, or it was so-called invented. But these pyramids, like they're not just limited to one like continent or specific race or specific culture. You know what I'm saying? These pyramids are found everywhere. So if put two and two together, and you think about how advanced these shits were and whatnot, it had to be something, you know what I mean, in terms of like energy or there was some uniformity with it around the world. It had to have been like a resource of some sort, is what I'm saying.
Right. Man, hey, look, okay. I got a few comments behind that. One, I learned I'm telling you, I've been fascinated with them too ever since my dad showed me the pictures of him standing in front of them in Cairo, bro. But as of like the last 10 years, I've really been doing my like due diligence about them, right?
Mm.
So I came upon one research where it was talking about, they're electrical beacons. You dig what I'm saying? Like they used to have electrical cars roaming around Egypt back in the days type shit.
Right.
But then it went deeper with me when I started really like picking apart the Bible, bro. And then I started, using my what would attach to my spirit, and then going to do the research on that. Because the word tell you, get knowledge and wisdom, bro. And when you get some more. So it was like, so I look at it like this, bro, because I forgot what I was studying one day, bro, and it was like the same measurements of the ark of the so-called Ark of Covenant. You dig what I'm saying? Is the same measurements that is of a device that is missing in the Great Pyramid of Giza. You dig what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yep. Most definitely do.
So, and that goes back to that whole organic energy. You dig what I'm saying? That's a whole different type of energy that we actually know how to tap into. That's what that whole part of that meditation is about, bro. It's about tapping into that energy.
Right. Right. Yo, they said something in that gateway experience shit too, that from off rip, like when I first read it, it made me realize this, but it made me realize that like the concept of time, right? When you look at what's happened the past 400 years, right? And you see how like around the same time of every century in the past 4 centuries, there's always like a pandemic of some sort or some some like worldly event, right? Like a big event, like or some crazy shit that's going on. If you peep all this shit, bro, it's not a linear. Like I realize history is not like from start to finish, and why we look at it as such is because English is written from left to right, But if we look at it from Hebrew perspective, right, written right to left, right, or we factor that into the equation, it's like a two-way road. You feel me? Or more so like an infinity sign, where like history, they say history repeats itself, and like I'm of the thought that, like, put it this way. This is what I'm trying to say. In Star Wars and shit, right? Like, one might reasonably argue, like, is this in the past or is this in the future? You feel me? Based on like the garments you see, it might look like it's older times, but then you see some of the technology and shit. You're like, oh, this has to be in the future. But
Right.
it was like the same shit, big bro. Back in the pyramid days, like the type of shit they were doing back then, right? Without these so-called like societal advancements like electricity and other things that are conventional now, right? Like ain't no, bro. It's like this. It's like you understand what I'm trying to say?
Nah, I get it definitely. Look, bro, I am so in tune with you, bro. Don't even trip. Go ahead and explain it. I get what you're saying, bro. I'm gonna comment after you done.
No, that's all I want to say though. It's like time. The concept of time is like really an infinity sign, man. It's literally an infinity sign.
Well, you gotta understand this. Time is what's holding us back through a lot of stuff because part of us ain't never known no time. You dig what I'm saying? Time is just a measurement.
Right.
And within measurements, you keep things bound.
Right.
So that explains a lot in itself, bro. That's why I feel what you're saying on that, like whole aspect, because that's why the infinity sign is the way it is, or it's a zero. You get what I'm saying? Because everything comes back full circle.
Yeah, that's right. Yep.
And I believe that one of the greatest deceptions of this country is they got to believe in that a lot of this stuff that is coming to flourishing is just now being invented and has always been here, bro.
That's right.
If you listen to the real scholars talk about dispensations of time, when they talk about ancient times, it was so much stuff going on in ancient times of the old, and some believe that's that time period before that whole God created Adam and Eve type stuff. You dig what I'm saying?
Yeah. Wow.
So I believe there's a lot of kept secrets. Because my grandfather used to tell me shit without telling me shit. Like I remember we talking one day about Tesla and shit. He said, man, they've had electrical cars since the 30s. You just had to be rich to have one.
Yeah, type shit.
You know what I'm saying? And I was just, it's crazy because I be posting little things on my Instagram and stuff, and I just posted this one thing that one of my more followers that I follow posted. He was talking about robots. He said, "Man, they've been making robots since the late 1800s, bro."
Hell yeah, they have. Hell yes, they have. And you know, it's that shit is real, man. Like you know,
And look, if you think about this alone, bro, the airplane was supposedly invented in. Well, the Wright brothers supposedly built the first airplane in 1903. You know what I'm saying?
yeah, no way.
But then 15 years later, we go to war and we have fighter and bomber jets. So what made technology jump so quickly from a old school plane to these fighter jets? You dig what I'm saying?
Agreed, bro. Yeah, that's a good point. But that's where the Star Wars argument comes in with those flying fucking hovercrafts and shit. Those I don't even know what to call them, right? In Star Wars, right? Those things look like they could be from the past or the future. To the point where I wouldn't be surprised if there was some real Jetsons type shit going on back in the pyramid days.
Right, for real.
Like that ass. That's what I'm trying to get at. This shit is crazy. Ain't no telling. Only thing I know with certainty right now is that human primate chart that they show, they try to tell us was the evolution of man. I don't believe that shit for a second. You know, like where they show like the ape and then it turns into a human. Like it just keeps growing and
right.
It's bigger and bigger. I don't believe that shit. You believe that?
I believe it might. Honestly, I believe it might be real for some folks, but not everybody.
That's a very good answer. Very good answer. Yeah.
Origin on this planet is very questionable, especially as of late. You dig what I'm saying? And especially as our eyes and the veil becomes even more and more ripped. You dig what I'm saying? Yeah. We're not all the same, bro. You know, it's crazy because I've been supposed to post something on my on my Facebook for a minute, bro. And it's funny because my brother said something last night about it. He was like, "Man, what the fuck is a human anyway? What the fuck is a hue?" And I was like, "It's crazy he said that because I just looked this definition up like 2 or 3 days prior to him saying that shit, bro."
Human.
You know, and I can explain why hue and the word he is using the word now. You dig what I'm saying? Because it makes sense. Hue is I forgot what language it is, but hue translates into Arabic and in Hebrew as he. But hue definition, hue is God. You dig what I'm saying? So we're talking about God, man. That's what the hue is about.
Oh shit! Wow.
Secrets hidden in the dialect, bro. See, ever since my dad laced me with that, it's all it's been about. Like, you know, when they say certain things, it's hidden in these words alone, bro, that we don't even think about defining or looking up or breaking down because we look at them as one word and they've already given us a definition on that one word.
Huh. Yo, that's a fact, bro. So fucking human and human being are like, I think, look, so it's like this. I told you about the brother talking about the difference between man and mankind, right?
Oh yeah, I know that. I know that argument.
Yeah, you probably knew that already. Yeah, that was from the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, I think. Right. So that shit, I love that distinction because that's like the type of shit. You know, it's many things that I'm sure you know this too, big bro. You definitely feel this all the time. But it's shit that you be thinking. But like I said, it's like a sixth language. You know what I'm saying, or whatever you want to call it. It's just something that is not taught. It's a vernacular that we don't use. There's no jargon attributed to it, right? So sometimes it's hard to explain it. But when you hear it from somebody else and they piece it together in such like a concise and understandable way, there's no better feeling knowing that it connects with other people too. And now they formulated it into words so that you could explain it to somebody else.
Right. Hey, for real, bro. You know, that goes back to that whole. This is me personally. It goes back to that whole. When I figured out, it was like I was going through this battle, bro. You had these people that were waking up, bro, You know, they would talk about, moving away from the word and certain, they would talk about their ancestors. They would always talk about their ancestors. But when I found it in the word, it helped me explain a lot. Because your first ancestors are your mom and your dad, bro.
That's a fact.
You do what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
now that whole when the word says respect thy mother and thy father, you dig what I'm saying? They ain't just talking about your mom and your dad. They talk about all your ancestors.
Right. 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 Isn't yeah. I mean, I always started such too. I applied it to my grandparents. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So, that's like lineage, man.
Right, definitely, bro. So, man, I don't know. This shit gets deep, bro. And it's funny because I get it too, because from reading the Circle Seven Quran, bro, it talked about the sages having information, and information is only released at certain dispositions in time, bro. And I get that now. You dig what I'm
Wait,
saying?
wait, can you repeat that?
Hold on, give me like 2 seconds, bro. Give me like
Yeah.
2 seconds.